salama.
Salama.
Afya yangu ni mzuri pia, nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu. Kwa hayo yote na mengine ambayo amenitendea ambayo ni mema.
Msifu.
Alright, ndo.
Msifu
Bwana. Want me to break it down for you?
Ndu wako?
Yes.
Bwana asifiwe.
Amina.
Umemkaje?
Salama kabisa. Uko salama wewe?
Uko na mafua?
Sorry?
Unasikika ni kama
pua imezibika mahali.
Uko na mafua?
Niko salama kabisa.
Uko salama?
Sina shida lolote.
Haya. Karibu, leo ni Alhamisi. Leo ni Alhamisi, kesho ni?
Vendredi.
Ijumaa.
Ijumaa.
Vendredi?
Samedi, dimanche.
Di what?
Vendredi is Friday.
Okay.
From the day.
The day.
Yes.
This is Alhamisi Thursday.
Okay. There's Alhamisi Friday.
Ijumaa ndio Friday.
Kesho ni Ijumaa. Welcome to the show, everybody, and we're glad that you've joined us this morning. We have a lot to discuss and to look at. Let the people decide. Their push for at least about 4 million signatures in support of constitutional amendment has been launched. Then we also have the issue of is Kinoti sure of what he's doing? Is he thinking before he's acting? That is the question that's been asked of him. And a number of other stories as well to talk about. The story that we gave here a couple of days ago, which was given to us by one caller who was telling us about his son. And we said even the other day that it was the account of the caller, and we have since been trying to verify the story. So we have updates on that as well, on what's happening on that front. We have a number of issues. Doctors, nurses, clinical officers have all issued several-day strike notices. 21 days for doctors, 14 days for nurses and clinical officers. We'll be having a conversation on that with healthcare workers today, who will tell us what's happening, okay? And we'll try to understand, okay, so what are their demands? What are the irreducible minimums without which they will go on strike? We'll seek to understand that and many other things. A man woke up in the mortuary.
He did.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
something he did for the first time? Something he does from time to time? Or
he was declared dead. Then he woke up. Can you imagine how freaky?
The real story is
he doesn't work in the mortuary.
He doesn't work there. No, he didn't take a nap while on. He was not taking a nap while on duty.
So the question that I would like to ask is not that he found himself there. Who pronounced him dead? And what were the indicators of this death that eventually landed him in the mortuary?
Can you imagine how freaky that must have been for him? Not even for the people, not even the people who found him, for him.
Whatever it is that took him there, if it's something...
Death took him there.
If he can abstain, no, the death is the final consequence. But the other contributing factors that normally usher you along the way to get to that point, those are the things that perhaps one needs to look.
Imagine you wake up and find people starting to embalm you. In fact, it's a pain that wakes you up. Hey, not for jokes. Not at all. Not for jokes at all. COVID-19 in numbers. What's happening in the country and in the world?
Well, all right, let's look in Kenya, first of all. 810 new cases and 8 new deaths reported yesterday. Still looking like not a good situation around the country so far. It seems to start being overtaken by things, but these numbers are still quite high because we're still in the 12 percentage points area in terms of a positivity rate. So still an average of 1,000 cases per day, with those numbers being at 810 as of yesterday. Looking at details as concerns COVID and what is going on in the country, we're still looking at, not being able to get the right allowances for medics, not being able to get the protective gear that medics need, and then quite a number, like we say, going on strike because these have not been taken care of. Talks of the vaccine still continue, and chances of getting this vaccine within the country in the next few months as they go, continuing with conversations around the world. Speaking of around the world, let's look at what COVID looks like now globally. We are looking at now 60,716 cases. And in the United States, they've crossed now 13 million. They've gone to 1 million cases in 7 days. They've risen by 1 million cases in 7 days. On a day like this last week, we talked about 12 million and 96,432. Today, we are looking at 13,137,962 with 268,219 deaths. This is Thanksgiving weekend. Today is the day where people would have traveled the day before, traveling today, and then are going to all meet with their families in the US, for example. There were calls by concerned parties to say try and keep your travel to a low this time because obviously COVID-19 is real. More and more people likely to get infected because of this. So we are looking at Thanksgiving Thursday, Black Friday, where people are running to department stores trying to get the best deals, which is the tradition. So the Friday after Thanksgiving is usually what they call Black Friday, when people are getting goods for next to nothing. And people usually rush to these, in crowds, rush to these stores to do this. The sales have not been cancelled for this year. So you can imagine that people are still going to wake up tomorrow morning in droves, going to their favorite stores to see what they can get before the Christmas season checks in. There have been calls to get this at a minimum, but, people are not going to throw away tradition because of COVID-19 in the US. So we're likely to see a spike in the coming weeks because of a day like this and tomorrow, at least for the United States.
What?
Yep. Okay, so we're still looking at high numbers in India as well, 9,266,697. If we want to look at the cases that India alone recorded yesterday, or rather reported as having recorded over the last 24 hours, is that now India, as of yesterday, recorded 44,699 new cases. This is actually a drop in what they've been recording over the last few days, and 518 new deaths. So in terms of containment, they're really trying as much as they can, but also we know that they're testing rapidly and vigorously to try and stem the spread, at least to know where they are and where things lie. That's what it looks like around the world. Continue to keep an eye on this. It sounds like reporting and just crunching the numbers, but it is important to talk about this because, yes, we know it is a real disease. It's killing people around the world, and more people are getting graver symptoms every time they get infected.
Okay. Now, in terms of the numbers in India, there's a time when they had started reporting a decline in terms of the infection rates.
Yeah.
Are we still on the decline of
Yes, it's still in the
rates?
decline because remember about a month ago, they were recording numbers in the hundreds of thousands. As of the last 1 week, their numbers have been sub 50,000. So we're looking at 46,000, 46,288, 45,000, and then 44,000, 37,000. It went back up to 44,000 as of yesterday, but they have been on a steady decline, whereby in the month of October and previously, they were looking at 100,000, 150,000 cases every day. So they've less than halved that. In terms of what they're doing, people have gotten sick and gotten better. Those who've been asymptomatic have, gone through the motions and have been able to heal and then tested negative. In terms of measures, they're still holding them in place, but the numbers have definitely decreased.
But across Europe, more and more lockdowns.
Yes,
now.
Sure. We're still
More
seeing
stricter measures now.
stricter measures being in place from France to Spain to Italy to the UK. We're still seeing a lot of this. Germany as well. Germany now inching closer and closer to 1 million cases. France, for example, now well over 2 million cases. And if we just look at the numbers that they recorded yesterday, even with the quasi-lockdown that they have in place, France recorded 16,000 new cases yesterday and 318 deaths, looking like an average in terms of what, but they've jumped 7,000 cases. So look at it like this. 2 days ago, France had 4,400 cases. The very next day, 9,000 cases. And then yesterday, 16,000 cases. So they've almost doubled, even with this lockdown.
What about in the U.S.?
Quote-unquote lockdown.
What about the deaths?
Well, the deaths in the U.S. that we're looking at now, in terms of what they recorded just yesterday, I'm just going to give you those numbers. really quickly. So we know that the US now is above 13 million cases, 268,000 deaths. But across the continental United States yesterday, what they did record was 180,000 cases yesterday with 2,302 deaths. Okay?
That's high.
That's very high. The highest number in the last 2 weeks was 196,000. So this is amongst the highest numbers that they've recorded. And like we said, look, we are going into this week. They are going into this weekend where people are going to be crisscrossing the country. So we're probably going to see in the next 10 days or so more cases.
Like you know, exactly strange, even as you were speaking. If you look at the world wars that we've had, most of the people who died in those world wars often are not from any bullets or any shelling. They died from disease. But if you look at earlier times of the battles, or whether it was Alexander the Great, what won many of those people wars or lost them was not actually their fighting skills. It was often disease. So whenever a nation takes, like the US has done, like our country is doing, they don't take a disease like COVID seriously enough. It doesn't just kill people, it changes the course of the history of your country.
Right.
And that's the sort of change that is irreversible. Because it's indiscriminate. It doesn't
choose.
No, it doesn't. It robs you of human resource. It robs you of anything that comes into its path. But just so that I may speak on a good note, Scottish Parliament voted and accepted and that they would legislate free sanitary pads for all women in their country. Yes, thought I would mention that.
Yep. Fantastic moves when we're looking at things like that in terms of provisions.
And they're the first in the world to do that.
First in the world to do this.
Yes.
And across board, right?
Yes.
So they're looking at sanitary provisions for life.
For those who need it.
For those who need it.
Was it a motion or was it a bill brought in by the government? The reason I'm asking that is...
Yes.
If, for example, it was in the Kenyan parliament and, a private member's motion was brought in, a motion does not necessarily compel the government to do something.
No.
It calls on the government. It urges the government.
It doesn't urge. This one, it's parliament that made that decision, which means the arm that is supposed to say, okay, we give this thing a tick for it to proceed, give it a tick to proceed. It's the parliament.
Yeah. It was a bill, but it was passed
It was a bill.
unanimously.
Yes.
And what they're looking at, just looking at the details of that so really quickly, is that the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, called for this. So the bill was introduced. It was government sponsored for sure, but then it came unanimously agreed upon and passed.
Okay. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I would wonder what the backdrop to that story would be. I mean, was an issue with access to sanitary pads by the women in Scotland?
Yes.
Not just access, but even affordability.
It was serious.
Imagine. It was a major issue.
It was not a small issue.
And this is Scotland.
That's what I was just about to say. This is Scotland, and they're dealing with affordability issues of sanitary kits for women across the country, not just in particular pockets, but across country. And it's been that way for some time.
It was a serious enough challenge for the government and serious enough pushing for them to realize that the only way to solve this thing, forget this piecemeal efforts where you just make it a law. It has to be provided. So there's no ifs and buts. You cannot now miss it. It will be provided.
It will be provided.
Yes.
In Kenya, it's a requirement, actually. It's a policy and for provision for school-going children.
It's a provision, but it doesn't happen.
Well, not widely enough. There are those that perceive it. It's part of, the...
There are those that receive it, but they pale
part of the budget
in comparison to the
Education.
Numbers of those who actually receive it.
Yeah.
While we're on it, the thing that, again, strikes me about the western part of this planet we live in, the western world, if you read the happenings, the details behind the headlines, the human response to the restrictions of COVID, with the exception of China, where they even they even determine how you're going to behave. It got me thinking of how extremely positive democracy is and these freedoms are. But how, when human beings are faced with the challenge of doing what they think pleases them and makes them happy vis-a-vis looking after their own interests in terms of health, how they will flaunt every rule that is known to mankind simply to make themselves, if I may put it, speak it flippantly, to make themselves feel good.
Yeah.
The pushback It's like reading a story in a Kenyan newspaper about what Kenyans are doing. It's not different.
Yeah.
It's not different at all.
We're all humans.
Yes.
After all, there's something that connects us all together. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Thank you very much for being with us. 17 minutes after 6. Live stream is up. Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Say hello to us. We'll say hello back to you. Let's first take a look at the weather. And then we will look at the headlines. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM. Spice up your life.
In the face of COVID-19, life has been adversely affected, with nearly all schools in Kenya lacking basic hand-washing facilities, affecting more than 19 million children. Together with Davis and Shatleaf and True Black, we, the Standard Group, have partnered to collectively unite other corporates and individuals to join the initiative towards setting up basic sanitation facilities around the country. For more information, send an SMS to the short code 40616 or email standwithkenya@standardmedia.co.ke. Time to come together for tomorrow. It's our future. A partnership by Davis and Shatleaf and True Black and the Standard Group.
The weather with Spice FM.
All right, let's look at what this Tuesday morning has in store. And let's start it off in Nairobi. Nairobi, we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions at this point. 17 degrees. We've got highs of 27 today and lows of 16. It's mostly cloudy in Nakuru at 16 degrees, highs of 23 and lows of 15. Partly cloudy in Nyeri at 13, highs of 23 today. Mostly cloudy conditions in Eldoret at 13 degrees, going to highs of 23. It's partly cloudy in Kisumu at 19, highs of 28 and that lows of 19 today. Also partly cloudy in Kakamega at 14, highs of 28 and lows of 13. It's raining in Mombasa this morning. It's likely to cover for most parts of the morning, highs of 30 and lows of 25. And in Malindi at 15 degrees, it's partly cloudy, a chance of rain later with highs of 28 and lows of 15. Mostly clear conditions in Kampala at 19, going to highs of 25 and lows of 17. Dar es Salaam is mostly clear this morning, a chance of foggy conditions later. We'll take a look at that with highs of 30 and lows of 25. Light rain in Johannesburg at 17 degrees, highs of 23 today and lows of 16. Lagos is also raining this morning at 27. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 25. Kinshasa is also reporting rain this morning. Highs of 30 and lows of 24. It's sunny in Beijing, although quite chilly at 4. We've got highs of 6 today and lows of 3, -3 actually. 3 is what it is in Paris this morning as the winter does set in. Highs of 11 and lows of 3. Clear skies, however, sunny conditions, but crisp weather throughout. London at 8 degrees is clear as well. Quite chilly also. Highs of 9 and lows of 5. We're looking into Wednesday night in New York at 12. Highs of 13 and lows of 11.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice. Spice FM.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right.
94.4 Spice FM.
How are you doing, Ndu?
Yes.
Yeah. Who is online?
So Shirage is on the train.
Who?
Shirage Mwai is on the train.
Sharage Moy.
Yes.
From the same place? Roy?
Roiru Eagle, ready for the fire show, he says.
Okay.
And good morning to everybody.
So he's already boarded the train.
He's already boarded the train on his way to Nairobi.
Okay.
Okay. Mike Kiburu is tuned in from Nyeri and says good morning to everybody. J. Nus Mutuku is tuned in from Machakos. And Dread Rabwe is Ndani from Moswo Tenges Baringo. You know that place, city over there and over the hill? Charity, that place. Charity.
Also Tenges in Baringo.
Okay.
They're greeting you, those people.
How are they handling the floods there?
So you'll ask him. But for now, it's good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Titus and Better is tuned in from Kaimosi. And Bede Ashley, good morning. Good to have you back here. Machakos is well tuned in. Lawrence Carrier, good morning. And Alex Mbogo Kihuyu Nyeri is also tuned in this morning.
At you where?
Kihuyu Nyeri.
In Nyeri.
Nyeri.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. Keep it right here throughout the show. We're glad You are with a City Muga. What is today's proverb?
If you are not going to bite, don't show your teeth. This is a saying. It is a proverb that is attributed to
Kinoti.
the Ivory. It's Ivorian.
Oh, it's Ivorian.
Côte d'Ivoire.
Okay.
You had.
If you're not going to bite,
Don't show your teeth.
don't show your teeth. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let's look at the headlines. Many headlines to look at. Where do you want to start?
Good grief.
We'll have the BBI conversation in the 7 o'clock hour.
Yes, we will.
Sure, but we can just say, okay.
So, unfortunately, Diego Maradona died of a heart attack. Died rather, 2 weeks after he was hospitalized in Buenos Aires. He was 60 years old. Everybody knows who Diego Maradona is. And the final whistle was blown. And the hand of God takes the king. It was quite unfortunate that we heard this news yesterday. It's big news, I think. Everybody knew
it's
who he
massive
was.
news.
Right? The flawed genius dead. Dazzling, infamous, extraordinary genius, outrageous Diego Maradona, a flawed football icon. One of the game's most gifted players, the Argentine boasted a rare combination of flair, flamboyance, vision and speed, which mesmerized fans. He's also outraged supporters with his controversial hand of God goal and plunged into a mire of drug abuse and personal cries off the pitch. He was born 60 years ago in Buenos Aires, a shanty town. Diego Armando Maradona escaped the poverty of his youth to become a football superstar, considered by even some to be greater than Brazil's Pelé. The Argentine, who scored 259 goals in 491 matches, pipped his South American rival in a poll to determine the greatest player of the 20th century, before FIFA charged the voting rules so both players were honoured. And he's bowed out as of yesterday.
I saw a headline. God takes his hand.
Yeah, God takes his hand back.
Goodness, the play of words.
play
on
of
this-
words.
on this-
Job.
I like the way the BBC presented it. They talked about all the lovely attributes. Yes, the adjective flowed. And then they said, yes, a man who was very human because of his many challenges. Personal challenges, they called it.
He
Yeah.
was human after all.
Yes. And the team that he played for, Napoli, they are as equally sad as those in Argentina. Because it is said that when he played for that club, Napoli, they had never won a national cup until he joined that
He
particular
joined the team.
Yes, and he got them to 2 national finals.
He made Napoli.
Yes,
All right.
but the issue of him being a better player than
Pele.
Then Pele.
now that is now an interesting debate because the
Yeah,
other
debate
players who've
starts.
come up who are equally dazzling.
It's a whole story of the other Ronaldo,
Yes,
big Ronaldo, small Ronaldo, and Messi.
yes. And then there's a guy whose name I can never pronounce. He's goes like Neymar.
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 See, I knew I was close. You see, the thing is, I think these are generational heroes because with every generation they'll say this guy is the greatest because they didn't watch.
Sure.
Pele started playing at the age of 17. To watch Pele play, anyway, that's a different matter altogether.
Yeah.
Rest well, hand of God. Man returns to life after 3 hours in the morgue. Now, this story was quite captivating yesterday because, so this is what happened. Kapkatet Sub-County Hospital in Kericho. On Tuesday night, a 32-year-old man who had been presumed dead and taken to the mortuary regained consciousness close to 3 hours later. Mortuary attendants were getting ready to embalm Peter Keegan's body when they noticed some movements. Keegan, who's a resident of Kibwastuyo village in Bureti constituency, is said to have collapsed while at home before his family took him to hospital. His younger brother, Kevin Kipkurui, said he was present when Keegan collapsed. With the help of their cousin, they took him to the hospital at 5:30 p.m. When we arrived at the casualty department, we met a doctor who asked us to register the details of the patient at the reception while he attended to him. After registering the patient, Kipkurui said he was again asked to the National Hospital Insurance Fund desk for further documentation of his brother. Keegan reportedly suffers from a chronic illness. When I went back to the casualty department around 7:45 p.m., I learned that my brother was dead. A nurse told me that he had died long before we arrived at the hospital. The nurse later handed me a document to take to the mortuary attendant before my brother's body was moved to the morgue. 10:30 p.m., Kirui said, as we're waiting for embalming of Keegan's body, they were informed that, in fact, he was not dead.
So is this a case of mistaken death, or is it a case of the dead rising?
I mean, it would be interesting to hear this from a medical professional who would tell us, because this is not the first time that you hear of such cases.
No,
where someone
it
has
isn't.
actually been pronounced dead, and then they rise. In fact, others even rise while they're in the coffin. They're just about to be buried.
Lowered
and then
down
they just
and... Oi,
knocking.
not yet.
And it's not something that's just here. Around the
Toe
world.
in
It has
Yuko.
happened around the world.
Yeah. You can imagine the joy for the family. I mean, the brothers.
But what I want
when
to
they
find
thought
out
about
is, what is it about the person, if he has a condition,
Mm.
that upon examination
would actually show
gives
that-
the impression that you are no longer alive?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, I mean, you could find that, somebody has tested, your heart is not beating, what they call the
Pulse,
asystolic
that.
is not reading. Essentially, they try to revive you. They cannot. You don't have a pulse. They've waited this. I think it's something like 3 minutes. They say they wait 3 minutes. You don't come to. There's no way your brain would be able to survive after 3 minutes without oxygen, according to what they say.
So the medical superintendent of the hospital, Gilbert Cheruiyot, said Keegan was in critical condition when he was brought in. His relatives presumed that he was dead and did not even wait for certification of death. They moved him to the mortuary on their own. This is what the med sup is saying. That is actually not the medics in the hospital who pronounced him dead. It's a family that decided, amekufa, tupeleke mortuary.
They
no.
took him straight to the mortuary.
No,
He
no,
said,
no.
this is, the brother says, we arrived, we were told first, okay, as I'm attending to him, go and register there. Then go to NHIF. Then they come back, and according to the brother, the nurse told him, this guy, by the time you're arriving here, he was already gone.
Let me ask a
Let me
question.
prepare for you to take him to the mortuary. Okay? They do the preparations for him to be taken to the mortuary. Now they're waiting to be told, okay, we've begun the process and all. Then they come and they're told, no, the man is not dead. The med sup says they are the ones who decided that he's dead. He said the clinical officers at the casualty department. Wait. He said the clinical officers at the casualty were busy attending to other critically ill patients when Keegan was brought in, including an epileptic and a diabetic patient. They asked Keegan's relatives to give them some time, but they accused the clinicians of taking too much time, and they decided to take him to the mortuary. It was while the mortician was getting ready to embalm his body that she noticed some signs of life. So the patient was later taken to the ward and is responding well to treatment. This is according to Dr. Cheruiyot, who says, I advise those bringing their loved ones to hospital to follow the lay-down regulations. Before a body is moved to the mortuary, it has to be certified by a clinician. In Keegan's case, we can only say he was lucky, especially because of our qualified mortician who checked him before making any move.
Eric, you cannot
stories.
take your body
On your own accord.
to the mortuary, and it is received without
There's a form.
without
There's something
documentation.
that's
No.
been signed.
No, that body will not be accepted.
The
Won't be.
clinician cannot, the mortician
He will not.
will not receive a body.
They will
right?
not receive a body unless there's documentation and they're satisfied. It is not possible.
So that account by the medical superintendent is
Someone. No.
there's something.
It's like
that
saying,
happened here.
Eric, that someone comes to the hospital and they're tired of waiting, so they take their patient to the ward. Is it possible?
That you go and admit
You
it.
just admit him in the ward. No. Even people
You
who
guys are taking too long.
no dead bodies
we
are
need to go.
have the same procedure that is followed in admitting a patient into a ward. Same procedure that a body. Someone who's passed away.
Yeah.
That process is taken before.
That makes sense, actually.
You can't just carry
I
your-
cannot imagine the mortician saying, okay, ati,
Umemleta.
Mumemleta.
I know.
Ni sawa, wacha nitadili naye.
You know what that also means? That you can decide on your own to go to the mortuary and say, we want to remove our body and go with it. It doesn't happen. That one, no,
You
doesn't
can't.
happen. It can't happen.
So there was somebody who then did not follow procedure. Somewhere.
Look, something happened. There were reasons why the man was declared dead. Okay? And now that he's in hospital, it's a good thing. let them see if they don't have the capacity. Let them take this gentleman to a hospital to determine it's an opportunity what it is that actually ails this. Because if it happened, remember he said he has a chronic disease, so it's likely this can happen again. Let them go and determine what it is that brought this about.
Hey. Okay, time for us to take another break. Let's see what's happening on the roads. Is there traffic on the railway?
On the railway.
28 minutes to 7.
Spice FM, Malindi. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
It has been a tough year for your business, hasn't it? But you hung in there. You pressed on. You persevered. And now it's time to rise up. It's time to get ready, to get going, to get
Okay,
selling.
so where there is traffic this morning is on the southern bypass as we're looking at things opening up this morning, right at the Ngong interchange, Kikuyu inbound. And there's some traffic there because there was an accident this morning, and so there's quite some crazy traffic. So that having been used as an option at some point, for now is out. If you're headed in that direction or coming from that direction, that's what you're going to face. Thika Road behaving so well today, all the way from Roysambu to the Muthaiga turnoff. Looking very good this morning and moving along quite nicely. Hope you don't get stuck in any traffic coming out of there. Okay, Kimeumana at Mlolongo, unfortunately, it's bumper to bumper all the way from the Signature Mall today. Wow, this is really far back. And it's taking you all the way through to General Motors. Very, very slow traffic on Mombasa Road today. We know that the diversion at Airtel now inbound, that was sorted out. So people are able to move a little bit quicker as a result of that. But outbound today, guys, already, let me just tell you, sorry, at 6:30, and we're going to have some patience to sit through this one. We'll take a look at how things may change later. Remember, the southern bypass is clogged for now. The eastern, however, is open for use. Spice FMKE, talk to us on Twitter or text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
7 o'clock. Other headlines. City, what are you looking at? Big one.
This thing
Okay.
I'm looking at, there are many big ones. But inside racket of Nairobi's lost billions in parking fees.
Okay.
ATK.
Billions lost in parking fees.
Okay.
All right. Stats. Parking. Just parking. Nothing else. Total parking slots that are available in the city of Nairobi, 12,000. Loading zones, 1,601. Seasonal tickets, 1,024. MCAs, county staff, matatus, diplomats, 3,250. So if you do the arithmetic, 1 minus 1, daily available parking slots, 6,125. All right.
This is across Nairobi.
Nairobi.
Okay.
Nairobi. Parking attendance, 396. Inspectorate office, 56. Now, the story here is that there are many parts of the city of Nairobi where the parking attendants who are supposed to wear this really bright yellow overall and a reflector are not seen. But otherwise, they say place where there are middle-aged men, some young men who will charge you a parking fee of 200 shillings, which you pay cash, all right? And so you park. Sometimes you double park. In short, they are managing a lot of the parking in the city.
Right.
And so, if you look at, for instance, what Jumbo Pay, the people who have been manning the parking in the city of Nairobi, among other things, they said that they are SACCOs that had registered, a Matatu SACCO that had registered, were a total of 27,000. And they said many of them preferred to actually prepay for whatever parking the services that they required from the city. However, only 14,000 paid and 13,000 were not compliant. So if you combine, you talk about transportation, close to half don't seem to comply with it, by these rules. And then people just collecting money on their own, cash, as opposed to using the
digital platforms.
The digital platforms. They say this money is divided between A, the inspectors, B,
the parking attendants.
Yes, B, C, powerful people within the county government.
Inspectorates.
Yes, exactly, and certain politicians.
Okay.
There are those who even argue that the city is actually divided up, meaning it's like people
has been zoned, huh?
Yes, by powerful people. Iniako. So
Every day there's a collection.
every day is a collection. The county gets a portion of it is received. And if you do the totaling of this, it amounts to billions of Kenyan shilling. It is therefore no wonder that no matter what one says about the city, if you're to look at parking as an example, and if you look at how the process of ensuring that they have a system that is digitalized and a system that limits these excesses, you'll find those systems are always resisted very, very, very vigorously. And the status quo is maintained.
It's maintained.
Hey. Hiya, Cabal.
Yesterday was a day for emotions. And President Uhuru tells George Kinoti directly, think before you talk. The NCIC has now warned in the sub-heading there that revisiting violence cases will create fresh tension and mistrust among communities. President warns DCI boss against opening old wounds and says the PEV chapter is closed. In yet another bad day for the country's top crime buster, President Uhuru Kenyatta gave George Kinoti a thorough tongue lashing over his Monday goof on revisiting the 2007-2008 post-election violence cases. At the highly publicized national event to launch the signature drive for the Building Bridges initiative, Kenyatta took a swipe at the head of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, saying people should learn to think before they talk. Kinoti's woe started on Monday when he hosted 118 individuals said to be victims of the violence, largely drawn from Rift Valley. The victims were to record statements with the DCI for purposes of fresh investigations into the violence that left more than 1,000 people dead and thousands displaced. A day later, backing under pressure from State House, Kinoti retracted his statement, saying he was misunderstood. But yesterday, the president was not relenting, telling the country that the PEV chapter was long closed. You don't think before you talk. You don't act. You don't think before you act. You must always think before you do something. And this is what the president said yesterday.
Is it opportune to disagree with the president on this one?
Yes.
Because this chapter was closed for whom exactly?
Tulilizika katika kaburi la sahau.
No. You see, again now, are we listening to political speeches? Are we listening to the president making a political statement? Or are we listening to the president actually saying something that bears a close resemblance to the truth? This matter is far from being closed. The fact that people are quiet about it doesn't mean that the matter ended. There are so many unresolved issues that arose. The fact that he and his deputy shook hands. Yes, they did shake hands because they represented the two communities that were seen to be at complete and total loggerheads with each other, which again is a misrepresentation of the truth. There was a group of people who were attacking the others. It wasn't as though it was. Why do these words escape me so early in the morning?
It's okay, don't worry.
Okay. Or am I speaking too fast?
Use a synonym.
Or should I just throw in a proverb to explain it?
Why not?
All right? Now, it wasn't a war. People were attacking others.
Yep.
And at some point, others retaliated because they couldn't just simply lie down and wait to be killed. It was understood that at that time, it was not possible for these two communities to see eye to eye. The president and his deputy did something wonderful and excellent in showing that peace could be made even after these things. But peace having been made, when you make peace and say, let us put an end to this warring, you then start the process of ensuring that people are healed. That healing is not complete. Far from being complete. And he says you should think. I actually think the DCI thought before he spoke on this one. He thought.
I think for the DCI to actually bring over 100 people to the headquarters in Nairobi.
You think it's a small matter, really?
It's not a small matter. But also that's what I was saying. You know, just like you said, if you are not going to bite, don't show your teeth.
Don't.
Yes.
My immediate reaction to this was whoever is, spearheading this, whether it's a DCI, whether the DCI is acting under the advice of the national security, whatever, whoever is basically starting this story again, make sure that you take it to conclusion this time round. Because we've seen those start-stops before. We have seen that kind of, talk and commitment and all done before. Yesterday, when we were speaking with one of the survivors of post-election violence, she was even talking about the president setting up a fund and saying, now this fund is going to help those who suffered in post-election violence. Have they been able to access that fund yet? No. They have been talk about, resettling those who are evicted from these areas. Has everybody been resettled? There has been all that talk of, how many IDPs have actually been resettled, how many IDPs actually got to benefit from this. And then even after being resettled, how did you reintegrate them into the community? All that, there are many things that the government has done. I'm not saying that the government has not done anything
government has done
to
plenty.
address PEV.
They have done plenty.
Many things. But there's the issue of, okay, can we say that there has been closure on this? Because that's what the president is saying. We have closed this particular issue.
I'm afraid it isn't closed and new wounds aren't being opened. The wounds have been gaping, they've been glaring, and they've been there for the longest time. Some have even been festering. Have they? Do they? For this to be resolved, Eric, you actually hit the nail on the head. The numbers of people who are displaced. Start with that and then tell us how you've managed these numbers, what you've done. Now, are you telling me, for instance, children who witness gruesome things happening to their family members have overcome it? The answer is no. Are you saying people who had to move? I know, not I was told, I know of people who lived in the Olonguruoni area, had farms there, but worked in Molo, who saw horrible things happening, houses burnt. A child who was a normal child in adulthood stammers to date.
What?
As I'm talking to you, stammers.
Trauma.
Yes, because the movement from where they lived changed their lives completely. They had a comfortable middle class life. They had to move. And it was like starting all over again. And that changed completely.
Those ones have closed. They have zikad this thing in the
They
community of
haven't.
Sahau.
They haven't. When I talked to this particular individual, it's like it happened yesterday.
It's still fresh.
Yes, it's like it happened yesterday. And this happened when they were a child.
Oh my God.
So when someone makes a statement, I think it is the president who should think before he speaks.
There you go.
Or he should be careful. This I have said, and let me repeat it. The people who write these speeches for him and advise him on these matters, he should think very carefully before taking their advice wholesale. This matter has not been closed. This matter is still fresh. And when we deny that this matter is alive and well and try to bury it, we actually worsen the situation. We don't make it better. You don't deal with problems by running away from them. You deal with problems by facing them. This demon has not been faced squarely.
It hasn't.
That's why the reaction that you hear is people run away. No, this horrible, terrible. Of course it is. And that is why we must deal with it.
Well said, CT. Very well said.
Thank you.
I've been betrayed. Not me. It's a suspended KEMSA boss, Dr. John Manjari. Dr. Manjari says that his colleagues have hatched a plot to fix him over anomalies in the procurement of COVID-19 essentials at KEMSA. He was yesterday refuting claims by the KEMSA board of directors that he kept them in the dark as he awarded tenders worth billions of shillings to suppliers. He says the directors were in the know, disclosing that one member of the board even lobbied for a company to be awarded the tender. He told the National Assembly Public Investments Committee, probing the wanton procurement of the essentials, that Joel Gesuka, a board member, wanted a company to be awarded a letter of commitment to supply the equipment. He said board chairman Kembi Getora also knew about the letters and even advised the agency to think outside the box and ensure that they were more prepared with the essentials. Manjari says Kembi advised KEMSA management not to be tied to the number of PPEs that the health ministry had said should be bought. The chairman would occasionally come to my office and would have discussions as suppliers lined up to pick up commitment letters. He cannot now say that he didn't know of us issuing the letters. Dr. John Manjari basically has come out and is fighting back. He's saying, Everybody who's coming here is saying, oh, it's a CEO. Oh, the ministry had only told us to procure. How many was there? I don't know, about 10,000 PPEs. And, we went ahead and procured more than that. He's saying, nope. Board members knew. In fact, there was a direct communication between the management and the board, with some board members even trying to influence who gets the tender. He says the chairman had told them, think outside the box. Okay, so the ministry is telling us this, but you know what? This is COVID. Okay?
This is the reality on
Let's
the
be
ground.
prepared, man. Let's think outside the box. This one is not looking very good. And it's like we said, the very first time Jonah Manjari was suspended and paraded before the Senate, before the National Assembly, I felt, you know what? There's going to be a fall guy for this. And the fall
this
guy
guy
is usually
was-
the CEO.
Yeah.
He is not going to be able to run away from it because he was the CEO and therefore he ultimately he was in charge. But we cannot say that nobody else knew what was happening, that the board was unaware, that the other managers were unaware. No. Absolutely no way. And it's very, very sad to see, people like this. Somebody with a checkered career. You've just come from being CEC of Health in 2 counties. He was CEC of Health in Kiambu. Then he was CEC of Health for a couple of months in Nakuru before he was tapped to join KEMSA as a CEO. Before that, he had been head of the Thika Level 5 hospital.
So the man has clearly had a checkered career.
Yes.
Hard to say then he would then get into this
Then
new
he just
position and then just go south.
No.
And then you dip immediately. Difficult to look at. it
Actually,
like that.
the consequences of impunity are manifested in so many of our stories here. Because if you know the man, I don't know the man, I've never met the man, you would find that those who know him will speak well of him and say he is. But it's that age also to keep asking what happens to people when they get to these positions.
Yeah.
What happens? What happens? What happens to our MPs when they become MPs? What happens when they walk through those doors? Huh? What is that they breathe in? Because suddenly you find many people have changed. Many remain the same.
And many of them will also tell you get in there and then you realize this machine, it's a huge machine.
Yes.
You just get swallowed into that machine.
Yes.
I speak to some MPs and, somebody who has served in Parliament, somebody who has served in the civil society, then gone into Parliament and thinking, you know what I was campaigning for from the civil society, if I go in there, I can influence change.
And they go in.
Guy goes in there and he's like, what? I think it's not what we see from the outside.
No, it isn't.
It's very different.
It isn't. And I think also it's the same with reference to the president and anybody in that high office.
Yep.
It only looks easy from the outside.
Then you have to make decisions.
We don't know
life
what
and death decisions
Yes.
on a daily basis.
And you're juggling them constantly on a daily basis.
Yep.
How can it possibly be easy?
Life and death decisions on a daily basis. Just like speaking to, former bosses of the police or even current bosses of the police, they tell you
My friend.
every day, every single day, the kind of instructions that he has to deal with, the kind of things that he's dealing with.
Filtering it and then ensuring
Yes.
it's taken down
Must be
it's
tough.
tough, not an easy job. You don't get to sleep.
Our former police boss told me the thing about this job that they find completely, it says you can't sleep. Says you are on call 24 hours, literally.
You simply cannot sleep.
And if you're at the topmost job, it's either you don't know when a call will come, and those calls come,
Yep.
and they get to you.
Because the bosses, when they hear something from the ground, they call you.
Yes.
Ati nini inaendelea huko Mandera?
So you have to find out.
Sir, you can't say I don't know. You must be the one who calls the boss to say this has happened.
Jeez.
Yes.
Speaking of another man who can't sleep, Yatani has said, brace yourselves for higher income tax and VAT in January. Wow. Okay.
Hatustuki.
Okay.
Tutalipa. How much does he want?
How much does he want? Wait, I'm going to tell you. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukuri Yatani said the monthly pay as you earn pay deducted from salaries, salaried employees will revert to 30% from the 25% in January. First of all, we knew that was coming from a few days ago.
Had they reduced it
They had now.
to what?
25%. Now it's back to 30%.
You hadn't noticed.
No,
Okay. So
I honestly hadn't noticed it.
That
I
was
thought
just-
they were just deducting the same money they've been deducting all along.
milk money. Okay. So they had reduced this to cushion millions of workers from the economic effects of the coronavirus pandemic. The government is also expected to revert value-added tax to 16% from the current 14%, meaning that what is inadvertently going to happen, the prices of fuel, food, drugs, and other basic commodities will shoot up. Okay, so they're going to go back. If they had reduced in cost, it's not going to happen from January. Companies will go back to paying corporate tax at the rate of 30% from the current 25%. Yatani said the measures were intended to increase the country's revenue. And I quote, the government will continue to review the prevailing economic situation and institute measures that we ensure we protect lives and livelihoods while upholding a stable macroeconomic environment. So he was launching the public sector hearings on the 2021-2022 financial year budget in Nairobi. An increase in taxes comes with a rise in the cost of basic goods and services, meaning disposable incomes will fall. Also to be scrapped is the provision that saw these earnings less than 24,000 exempted from taxes. So folks who are not paying any tax in these 6 to 8 months, we're going to go back to paying those in January. And the price of food and fuel and other basic commodities will rise. So have to be ready for this in January. So that we can get more revenue into the country. Things are not good.
He has also said, where was that story? Where he has, have you talked about the projection of economic growth?
I haven't.
Okay, so
I can if you want me to.
They have revised. Just do that. Tell us.
Okay. So he said that Kenya's economic terrain remains tough, but he said that the government plans to limit borrowing. He said that the 2021-2022 budget deficit would be filled through net external financing of 3.2% of the GDP and net domestic finances of 3.8% of the GDP. So he's giving a forecast that's not really good, but he said it's not going to be easy because we have been hit by a shock not experienced before the pandemic. And the expenditure pressures and low revenue performance. There will be limited scope for borrowing. Our only option is to reduce expenditure. So he said, we're going to rein in on ministries, departments, agencies, state corporations, and county governments on their pending bills. And the government will make sure that we spend as less as we can in the coming year.
Okay. He also spoke about now reducing the GDP growth. It's going to be at a new 21-year lows. I think it's somewhere in the nation. Just look for it, city.
Yes, it is. I always get befuddled by these figures. You know why?
Some 21-year low.
But even yesterday in the Business Daily, there had been mention of that. But those figures I find confusing. Let me tell you why I find it confusing. Maybe it's a reporting issue. But on the one hand, you're being told that we are actually, the economy is growing and we are making progress. Now, then you are told this same economy is growing and yet we've lost 1.7 million jobs. So it means these are people who can't contribute to the economy through whatever it is that they were doing before. Then you're told that the government is not going to increase taxes. They're going to find ways of looking or ensuring that the economy is driven by innovative ways. The next day you read, you're being told, we are now going to increase levies by ensuring that 1%, others are reporting 8% of your salary, goes towards an insurance that will ensure that you have something to fall back on should we have a pandemic such as this one. Today, we are being told that, lo and behold, from next year, we are going to be... now, wait.
Which is which? We are going to grow, but we are not going to grow
as fast.
The way you think. Yes.
As fast as we expect it to grow.
My interpretation of this is
like
that...
saying we are recording reduced earnings. It's not a loss. It's just a drop in profit.
And then, do we have money or don't we have money? Actually,
we are going to reduce what we have to borrow, but we are going to not borrow so much.
So much, yes. But we don't actually even have to borrow.
We don't.
But we're going to borrow. Now,
we may not borrow.
Yes.
But we could borrow.
Yes. And we're thinking of borrowing. And we've also spoken...
but we may not.
But we may not.
Okay.
We don't have to really.
No,
but we
really.
could.
Yeah,
Not really.
And if we do...
Then we speak to the European Union and they tell you point blank, we have offered this support and we're giving this support. So which is which? Then, again in the media. Now, we're looking for ways of streamlining this. The word streamlining comes into being here. So that we can finance our own projects through our own funding. Then they spring this one on you. Taxes are going to be...
Yeah.
So
taxes have to go up.
And just when you think it was really, really safe, you look at one sector of the economy that's crucial, power production. Man, the toing and froing. Again, Eric, as you point out, you don't know whether it's a reporting issue.
Or an actual thing.
Yes, but something interesting came out of this. The issue of solar power, right? Yesterday, Business Daily, there was a long article, 2-page article, on the details of solar power and how it is solar power, apart from just the cost of setting it up, maintenance and what have you. Those are not costs that are brought up when you're talking about it. And for it to replace thermal power or for it to replace hydropower, what investment you need to not only put in, but how you need to renew it often. It's a long discussion. But when it's presented as though it's a small thing. Take this one, put it here, take the other one, bring it here.
Stop the sun is up there, put a panel, and then you have solar.
Yes.
Finish. I mean.
And now we're told
to pay every month.
Yes, Kenya Power is on the brink of collapse. Now we're told. A monopoly.
Where everyone currently is using this service.
And if you think, then you read the story. Can Kenya want to sell electricity directly? Kenya Power wasn't what it is, or even hadn't been formed. You know, many of these TA states were in existence. You know, they generated their own power. And they even had some to spare and sold to the national grid. Why is it that when you look at history, things that we were thinking of doing now were already being done?
Were being done earlier.
However,
Okay, we'll talk about the issue of COVID-19 in the country. But let me just quote here. The chairman of the Council of Governors says, "We have been overwhelmed."
Statement of truth.
Yep. Health systems in counties have been overwhelmed because of the challenges that have been brought about by the COVID-19. Late disbursement of funds or failure by the national government to disburse funds to the counties has not made things any better. He says his county, for example, has already spent 600 million shillings in the fight against the virus, which has so far killed 1,400 people, right? We have not been able to acquire enough PPEs. It has also been a big challenge training our healthcare workers, including those required to attend to patients in ICU. So, for example, Oparanya says when he became governor in 2013, the county of Kakamega had only 6 ICU beds. Now they have 20. This means that they needed more nurses to handle patients who need intensive care. Now, that's where the big burden also comes in. If it ain't one thing, it's the other. He was speaking at an ISPAC forum where also speaking was the Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Omalo, who says, you know, COVID has really shown us that we must focus. Prioritize health.
This COVID is a very nice person.
We need to prioritize
because she has really helped
health.
a lot of people to figure out what
It's
they're supposed to be
important
doing.
for national and county governments to work together so that we can prioritize health.
And they did not know this before. It was COVID that now allowed them to realize this.
It has made them realize now, with more clarity.
Okay.
Keep you right here for more conversations. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. In the next 2 hours, we'll also be live on KTN Home. All right? And we're still live on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Of course, on Spice FM as well. It's now 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru.
Okay, guys, so if you're planning on
Traffic.
bypass today, please do not, because it's a total mess. It's a no-go zone. If you don't need to be in that area, don't. At this point, you're going to probably want to stay on the highway. Stay on Langata Road. Stay on Mombasa Road if you need to get to town, because the accident that happened on the bypass this morning is really bringing some problems, and there's been a delay because of that. All right, let's take a look on Thika Road, where it's not looking so bad this morning. People are able to move without too much drama. Getting your way to the Pangani underpass will not be a headache. Mombasa Road also, as we see, coming out from Mlolongo, all the way from Mlolongo through to General Motors, jam-packed this morning. Jogo Road is moving. It's not too bad. Approaching the Makadara railway station, there's some traffic, but it's moving. Not too much of a problem as you get your way then towards the City Stadium roundabout, and then either towards industrial area or then out towards the CBD. Coming out of Western is also looking pretty good. The Red Hill bypass is also up and ready to use if you need it, and as well as the Eastern bypass, no problems there. Getting into the CBD, however, on Uhuru Highway, it's going to take you some time to move through that as you get then into the CBD or out towards Westlands. We'll take a look in about half an hour, see what that looks like. For now, it's the normal Thursday morning musings we see on the road. Spice FM KE is how you can reach us on Twitter or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Very much for tuning in on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, on Spice FM itself. And now for the next 2 hours, we are also live on KTN Home. We welcome our audience on KTN Home. You'll be with us until 9 o'clock. We always begin an hour with the day's proverb. City Muga, which one is today's proverb?
Yes, we do. Okay.
There'll be gnawing and gnashing of teeth.
No, if you are not going to bite, don't show your teeth.
If you're not going to bite, don't show your teeth.
Yes, and you applied it very, very well to the discussion about the issue of revisiting the post-election violence. Yes. This is a discussion that we actually must continue having because many problems that we can talk about, you will find have their basis in unresolved matters such as this one.
Yes.
And this is not a small matter. It's something. If issues surrounding Mau Mau, the Mau Mau movement, are still not resolved to date, do we think that the post-election...
How then?
Yes, something that happened in 2007. We think they are over now? 12 years down the line? Not a chance.
No.
And if you revisit, if you open your mouth and show your teeth on this particular matter,
Please be ready to bite.
please bite.
Yes.
Don't just, null and then
Show us what the teeth are for.
fold your tail and walk away. No. Absolutely not. All right, so BBI, the drive for 4 million or so signatures was launched yesterday by the two brothers, the president and the former prime minister at KICC. A number of speeches, a number of things. Even the bill itself has already been published. And the Standard this morning has a pullout of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, which looks at what areas of the Constitution they're proposing to amend with this push for a referendum. Okay, so get yourself a copy of the Standard this morning, and then you get this, and you can keep them. As people talk about, it's how many pages? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 pages, and just talks about this is the article being amended, and this is the amendment. This is the article, this is the amendment. We'll talk about that shortly. The day before yesterday, on Tuesday, we also talked about what's happening in the counties and gave the account of one of our callers who led us to a friend of his who had reported that his son died at a school in Kisumu. And the medics had said COVID-19 was the cause of death. We, at that point also, we said that this was the account of one person who was saying, I'm a parent and this is what has happened to me. And we also said that we are now working to establish and verify the veracity of this actual story. We're still working on that and with our team and the Standard Group, especially those in the regions that were mentioned. So far, of course, what we have is the account of the one person, a single source account. We're working to independently verify this particular story. We're also working to get a third-party verification of somebody else who also comes in and tells us this has happened. Issue here is that this person still says, you know what? He's even posted it publicly and said on the 10th of October, mourning his son, saying, my son died, saying, my son was in school, saying, I've buried him and I'm mourning the death of my son. He's talked about other things that he tells us. For example, that there's a push also by other parents to bring this matter to court and go and seek justice his own account saying he doesn't want to seek justice for this particular one. He doesn't feel that there can be any justice. He's lost his son, and that's it. But as you know, with every story such as this one, as journalists, we have an obligation to then look at all angles to the story, and that's what we're still working on. We've got to independently verify this. So far, not yet.
We had actually desired to have that parent speak to us, but that wasn't possible. Because a story such as this one, you want the person who has been directly involved to tell you that story in their own words so that you can hear and understand.
Yep.
Hopefully, we will be able to get him at a later date, but for now, we haven't been able to do so.
Indeed. So, BBI, it has been launched, and it's now for people to decide. Let the people decide. That's what the president and the former prime minister said. We are here. We've gotten to a point where we must now find, the way to go. And there are very many things that have been, proposed in the new constitution amendment bill. What is also emerging is that the initial bill that had been presented at Bomas and in Kisii is not exactly the bill that has been published. There are several things that had initially been said, okay, this is what we're going to do. They emerged contentious because several quarters came out and said, no, we don't think this is what we said, and we don't feel that this is the way to go. So, for instance, the issue of IEBC and the selection of commissioners into the IEBC, the issue of 70 extra seats in Parliament, the issue of appointment of deputy ministers, the issue of the judiciary ombudsman, the issue of the county assemblies and all, some of those that were contentious have been dropped and some are still there. So which are these that have been dropped? Concerns raised by the DP and his allies, constitutional experts and religious leaders on selection of IEBC officials by political parties has been deleted. The proposed establishment of the National Police Council and the Independent Policing Oversight Commission and the elevation of the Nairobi City County to a special status have also been dropped. The Judicial Ombudsman will now be nominated by the President. Vetting and approval will be done by the Senate, and then the Ombudsman will be an ex-official of the Judicial Service Commission. On composition of the Cabinet, the bill introduces a new requirement under Article 153. The President may appoint not fewer than 14 and not more than 22 Deputy Ministers. It also provides that a Deputy Minister may be appointed from among members of the National Assembly. Initially, the initial proposal was up to 42 Deputy Ministers. It has been capped. Article 107 stipulates that a person shall not assume the office of leader of official opposition if the Prime Minister is appointed from the person's political party or coalition of parties. This bill also spells out the order of precedence with the Speaker, the Leader of the Majority, and the Leader of the Minority Party in that order. And, some of these issues that had come out on gender parity, a new clause has been introduced to Article 82 of the Constitution, which says, Parliament shall enact legislation to provide for sanctions for a political party that fails to comply with the principle that no more than 2/3 of the party's candidates are of the same gender. So now here we're saying that political parties are the ones that are being mandated to ensure that for all the candidates that they present in elections, there shall be gender balance.
Does it not sound lovely to hear?
You see, that doesn't guarantee election, on one hand.
No, it doesn't.
Because the other thing that now then emerges is you're likely then to have bloated members of parliament.
You know, this one, it is not this one size.
It's a catch one, and then something else comes up.
Actually, look at it this way. You have to keep juggling. Yes. Even when you come up with a formula that you think works, something else will come up. Something else always comes up. What I find interesting with these changes and the newness, if I may use the term, of what is now being presented is this. They listened. They heard. They acted. Because
did they listen to everything? Have they heard everything? Have they acted to everything?
They couldn't act on everything. Even under the best circumstances,
now this is the point.
They were not going to.
This is the point, City. You have, why not have a way of saying, all right, so what are these issues that you're raising? Can you present them in a certain formal way, and then we consider them and then amend.
But I thought
So what is it that they've amended?
But I thought these fellows had actually, that people who had voiced their opinion had actually made formal presentations. They were not just talking.
You see, there has not been any sitting since the presentation of this thing in Bomas the other day, or Kisii.
No. I actually wasn't saying that. I was assuming that if I have a complaint or I have an issue that I'd like to add, I have it written somewhere.
But there was no avenue for you
But
to
how were they
present
going
it
to present them? To whom? At where?
Wait a moment.
There was no reception for these
Hold it.
agitation that we're
Let's
talking
start
about.
from just first principles.
Okay.
So this particular committee that's handling BBI don't have an office.
This particular one. Which particular one? The task force finished its
It
work.
was disbanded.
Yes.
Finished its work.
Okay, so you cannot hand it over to anyone who was in that task force.
There was no forum
Right.
for handing over.
The people who initiated it, the president and the former Prime Minister,
Minister.
don't they have offices?
They do.
Yeah, and you can't take them there. Everything goes to those places.
Yeah,
So
but
you
has
take
there
them
been
there and then
Look, there's a point I'm getting at here. It is clear that there's a lot of unfinished business with the BBI. Okay, it is clear. But what I'm saying is, what is this perfect thing, or the near perfect thing, or the palatably near perfect thing that would now act as a middle ground that can be agreed on? That's really where I'm getting to.
That's the thing. You see, just like the Supreme Court ordered for a repeat election in 2017, it was because of the process. When we were speaking with the chairman of the National Muslim Leaders Forum, Abdullahi Abdi, he told us it's about the process, all right? The legitimacy of the process. So people presented their views. You came up with the initial draft, okay? And then you said you're going to have now a second round of validation process. There were sittings in the validation. Some presented, and then others were being done in political rallies. Then you've come up with a report, and then people are still feeling, wait, this report and what you're saying is not what we really feel should be done. Okay? Then someone, we don't know who, goes and amends that. And the bill that is now being published has been amended. Who amended the bill?
Okay.
If the task force that had initially signed on a different bill has not signed on this new bill, so who is it that has amended this bill?
Okay. Are these
Is it
forces?
the Attorney General's
are
office?
these
Is it
forces of
Parliament?
light
Is
or are
it-
these forces of darkness?
Nobody even knows. Are there forces at all?
The thing is, as far as I can see, the BBI and everything that goes with it is that particular train that I spoke of that has left. It's going. We can continue this debate. It's a good debate.
But it's already heading. It's
That train has
past
gone.
River, it's going.
It's moving. All right? But we can continue having the debate. But if we want to board that train, pray that something happens to it and it has to stop somewhere so you can board it, because this one looks like an express train.
Right, because essentially what you're telling people is that we're going to democratize the process and allow everybody to have their views, but just be understanding as you're speaking and agitating, let it be very clear to everybody that as you're saying whatever it is you're saying, it is not going to have any impact. The greatest impact it will have is that somebody said something at some point. But in terms of it changing anything, it's not going to change. And that's the message that's being sent out to people at this point.
It's not the only message.
You're asking, but look at where we are in the process. Right now, where you are is that you're asking people for signatures for something to go to referendum that is going to make amendments and change things as is with the document. Anything that anybody says at this point, and I think people have reached that realization, that even if you do agitate now, even if you do make a suggestion for any kind of change, it is not going to make a difference. Because this ship has sailed.
Oh, it sailed a long time ago.
So what are you telling people essentially? Yes, we understand and we are listening to your views, but they're just that. They're just views.
We shall
Actually-
we shall make grammatical amendments. That's what Raila was saying.
What we're saying
Now,
here,
grammatical
what we're
amendment is saying
here-
that you're no longer going to propose the formation of Police Oversight Commission, but you're going to come back to Police Service Commission. So, is that a grammatical error?
This before. Let's look at the processes. huh?
Yes.
Let's say we get the 4 million votes. What do we do next?
Next, verification by the IEBC.
Okay.
IEBC verifies that these are indeed registered voters in the Republic of Kenya. Then the IEBC now passes this to the county assemblies, all 47 of them.
Okay.
County assemblies look at the proposals, the bill.
Now,
County assemblies debate. You need at least 50% of the county assemblies
Right.
to approve.
Only
this.
50%. Okay, and then what else do we need after that?
And then after that, now it goes to parliament and then it goes to referendum.
All right. So it has to go through assembly, county, national assembly.
And then people.
Now, let me ask.
Yes.
Then the people will come in to vote for it or take it to court or do whatever it is the people will want to do. Now, at any of these points, can there be any changes, or we will be debating the document as presented? No more changes.
You see, if you open up a change, for example, you say of the 47 county assemblies, each of them can open up the document and start amending. Then you'll have county A approving a different bill from what county B is
So there'll be
approving.
47 different versions of that particular
Yes.
document because people will bring in changes.
Yeah.
So
So in
essentially,
short, no opening of that.
no opening of it.
You're
When it goes to
discussing it as it
parliament,
is.
there's
It's a
no
done
opening.
deal.
Yes.
Yes. What I was saying, what we're discussing here is a middle of the road discussion. Why am I calling it the middle of the road discussion? Remember the time when there were the rallies? Remember the time when they were supposedly amending? It's not as though no conversation took place. And I want to be careful not to present it as though no conversation did take place. I'm not sure that a rally is a conversation. No, a rally is not really a conversation.
No, it isn't.
Conversation has to be back and forth, all right? But activities that lent itself to what may be close to, well, really, you have to stretch your imagination here. Public participation. The public was there. They participated in hearing what they were being told. Okay? If we take it that far. At some point, in all honesty, the talking must end. You see, you and I did not start this BBI. Those who started it and those who kicked it off have an agenda. And what I am seeing is that they're following their agenda. Okay? So at the end of the day, where we get to decide is when it comes to the vote. We, the voter, we get to decide. So the idea of let it go to the vote, I'm saying, yes, let it go to the vote. Because in all honesty, what do we think? Okay, changes have been made, but what else do we think is actually going to happen? It goes to the county assemblies. 50%, they'll get the 50%. It goes to parliament. There is a sword over parliament's head, which Maraga handed to the president. Pop! Yes, we've forgotten about it. You think it's gone. The president can disband that parliament like this. I'm snapping my fingers here, okay? That parliament is going to pass this thing. Then we'll go to the referendum. Let the referendum speak.
So why hoodwink Kenyans at this point to make them feel as though they are part of the process?
Are we seeing something new here?
Whereby they feel that they're part of the process, where you're telling them, here are our proposals.
Actually, we are part of the process.
And we need you to endorse them. They may not necessarily be what you agree on, but because it's being put in a way to make you feel as if you're part of it, that we've come up with this based on what you have said, without taking into consideration what other people may have had.
But
People may talk about.
Isn't that what they did initially?
How?
The bit you're asking is, okay, when the document was presented, I presume you're saying there should have been a discussion about this document, isn't it? That's what you're saying.
Yes.
And that wasn't there. Yes, it wasn't there. So that's what I'm saying. It isn't there. Okay?
So then that's what
So
we're saying.
tough.
All this,
Yes,
so
it
too
isn't
bad.
there.
All this story
It
about
isn't there.
all this
Yes.
story about democracy and all these other things about.
But what's
we're doing-
undemocratic about that?
Hold on, CT. It's an end-to-end process. This democracy. It's not just something that you say at the beginning of the process and they say, because we said one thing, that means we were democratic about it. No. You see it until its expected end. The democratic process is just that, a process. It's just like me saying something, and if I'm trying to communicate something to you, full and complete communication is that you understand it and then you're able to give me some kind of feedback. That's what it is.
Actually, I don't have to understand it.
You
What I
give me
need to
some,
do- what
you
I
give
need
me
is
some kind of feedback,
Yes.
so then I can understand whether I communicated properly to you and the things that I was trying to tell you, you then actually did understand. If you didn't understand, guess what? If I'm trying to communicate properly, I then have to bring it to you again, hopefully in a manner in which you will understand it. If I don't do that, then I have not fulfilled this process of communication. I haven't done it. I haven't done it right. You cannot come and tell people.
But you've done
you
it.
cannot. That's what I'm saying. You cannot come and tell people.
So this one you can't do half.
You can't do half. It must be. You have
why
to.
not?
Why should you do things half? Then you might. So you're
But
saying.
we are the ones who are deciding it's half. They see
Who's
it
we?
as
Who is we?
it's you who's just said it's half. So you are part of the we. I am
Everybody.
saying
everybody in the country, whether you're looking at individuals, whether you're looking at society group organizations, whether you're looking at professionals, whatever, who, by the way, are the ones who've come forward and say that we have issue with these things on one level or the other, have to be taken into consideration to the expected end. You know, it's all right if somebody brings in a suggestion and you look at it thoroughly and you say, actually, you know what, this cannot be for 1, 2, 3 reasons or the other. That is part of completing the process. But if you tell somebody, yes, we've heard what you've said, and then you take it and then you put it in this basket, and you still carry on whatever you're doing in the same vein, it is not democratic.
As you're speaking, I'm thinking of the national budget, and I'm thinking of how it's presented every year. In theory, our views on matters pertaining to the budget are sort of in theory. I remember when we had this conversation with the governor for Kisumu, and we did ask about public participation with regard to these things, and he alluded to there being public participation, people being involved in. Have you ever been involved in the process of budget making in this country? It's presented. We try to interrogate it as much as we can, but by and large, we normally say, they've made the budget.
Budget making actually starts in September.
Yes, it does.
There are hearings. Various organizations, various interest groups come and make their hearings. Various now state departments come and present their wishes. And then there's a whole conversation around that. By the time this thing is being presented first time to Parliament in April, all that should have happened.
Yes. I am saying
that
this is something that happens every... No, it actually does happen. It happens every single year. But at the end of the day, the ministry involved will make decisions, and they will present that budget, and they'll tell you things which are not always entirely true, and say, we will do this, and we want to do this. Give it 2 months. This will have changed, that will have changed. What really am I saying? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying the idea that you have is a good one, and it's what ought to be. I am saying what we have is this. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. This is what we have.
And unfortunately, it's not a good place to be.
And even as we're
It's
talking...
not a good place to be. If you're talking about the kind of robust and vibrant democracy you're looking at having, if you're looking at the kind of society you're looking at where people are involved in a process that is essentially going to affect their lives, that is essentially going to take them away from where they were before, that everybody says we're not comfortable with. So now here you are initiating a process that's going to remove them from that, right? You're initiating a process which is going to get them... to the promised land. I'm so careful about using those words. But essentially, that's what you've told people. But then now when they come and tell you, actually, you know what? We're not really all right with this. We're not really all right with this. The same process that's supposed to save them, you want them to be part of it, then they're telling you they're not okay with it. But you're still saying, all right, that's okay. You're not all right with it. We're still moving ahead anyway.
I'm your leader. I know what's best for you.
I know what's best for you.
Yeah, stop complaining about being in
We
the desert.
are talking about it, and that, in my opinion, is the good thing. The rest of the stuff, suck it in. Okay? Just see we can vote or not vote. This train is, as we are speaking, it had passed Mlolongo. That thing is heading towards Kibwezi. So it's gone. And this sort of train, by the time it gets to Mombasa, it will turn into a ship. And it will now start sailing. So if you want to board it. All right? But again, if we want to form a debating society where we can... I like the debating society because at least we get an opportunity to talk and air our views and what have you. But take that discussion with the understanding that this train has left and it's going.
What you're going to do is end
There
up...
has to be something that it determines what decision you make at the ballot when
Yes.
it comes to a referendum.
Yes.
And what we're discussing now will determine also.
Yes.
If you believe that the process was fine, and if you believe
You'll
that
make that decision at the
Make it at
ballot.
the ballot.
the contents
Yes.
of this particular bill are what you like, make the decision.
You'll make the decision at the ballot. You have that opportunity.
Let's take a break. 25 minutes after 7. When we come back, we'll be asking you to join the conversation and tell us, will you be ready to append your signature to this particular drive? So we can amend the constitution. Will you be ready to append the signature? That signature drive has been launched, and so it's all systems go. Like CT is saying, the train has already left Syokimau. It's past Athi River Station.
And by the way, it's not that train that picks
Next
up everybody
up,
along the
KEMSA.
way. KEMSA.
Oh yeah.
Express.
26 minutes after 7. Good morning.
87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
In the face of COVID-19, life has been adversely affected, with nearly all schools in Kenya lacking basic hand washing facilities, affecting more than 19 million children. Together with Davis and Shatliff and True Black, we, the Standard Group, have partnered to collectively unite other corporates and individuals to join the initiative towards setting up basic sanitation facilities around the country. For more information, send an SMS to the short code 40616 or email standwithkenya@standardmedia.co.ke. Time to come together for tomorrow. It's our future. A partnership by Davis and Shatliff and True Black and the Standard Group.
All right, let's look at Nairobi, where it's still mostly cloudy in some parts. The sun is trying to peek through those clouds, but we'll see some sprinkles later on. We're going to see a high then today of 27 and lows of 17. In Nakuru, 13 degrees and mostly clear conditions, highs of 23 and lows of 13. It's also clear in some parts, but mostly cloudy. In Nyeri at 13, highs of 23 and lows of 13. Sunny conditions in Eldoret at 11, highs of 23 and lows of 11. And it's partly cloudy in Kisumu at 27. We're going to go through highs of 28. It's partly cloudy in Kakamega at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 15. And it's raining in some parts of Mombasa, 26 at the moment, with highs of 30 and lows of 25. Partly cloudy conditions in Malindi at 17, with highs of 28 and lows of 16. Taking a look into Kampala, where it's mostly clear at 19, highs of 25 and lows of 17. Dar es Salaam is experiencing rain this morning at 24. We'll go to highs of 30 and come back down to lows of 24. Johannesburg in South Africa, raining this morning for a change, 17 degrees, highs of 23 and lows of 16. Looking into Lagos, where it's light rain happening at 26 degrees, we'll see to highs of 31 and lows of 25. Finish things off for now in Kinshasa, where the rain is still coming down, highs of 30 and lows of 24.
Spice up your life.
All right, we're still looking at the drama that's
Traffic.
going on the Southern Bypass today. There was an accident at the Ngong interchange, and so that has affected all traffic that is headed in that direction. If you don't have to use the Southern Bypass this morning, please don't, because you're going to get stuck. That is what lies ahead. There's a pile-up this morning, and that is what has affected this. There is no traffic on Forest Road. It's absolutely clear. So if you're trying to get into the CBD coming from the Thika Superhighway, Forest Road is an option that you can use. Thank me later. All right, Mombasa Road. There's been an accident there this morning, unfortunately. In the drama that is already the Mlolongo Way Bridge, heading then towards the SGR and then out toward General Motors, we've added an accident to that. So that means it's going to go a little bit slower right now. Getting then to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout and then out through to Uhuru Highway. Moving slowly, but it's moving not too badly this morning. The construction continues on Bagathi Way, and that means we're using one lane today. And it has gone into full force, full drive, so know that as you're approaching Bagathi Way. We'll let you know where it clogs up or where it opens up in other parts of the city this morning. Let's take a look into Mombasa and Nakuru today, and we'll see that in about half hour or so. Okay? Spice of MKE, talk to us if you see anything. Let us know on Twitter or text on 40127.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The Situation Room, broadcasting on Spice FM 94.4 Nairobi, 87.9 Mombasa, 102.5 in Kisumu, Malindi 97.7, 90.9 in Nyeri, Eldoret 96.7 and 96.0 in Nakuru. And we are live on KTN Home as well as Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter. So if you just buy a copy of the Standard this morning, you'll be able to see the bill to amend the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and this is what is now being used to take us to the referendum. And the drive was launched yesterday to collect at least The requirement is just about 1 million signatures, but the Secretariat is saying they're confident they'll get about 4 million signatures and present them to the IEBC. This is the amendment of the Constitution through popular initiative. From that point, the IEBC then verifies that those signatures are indeed registered voters of the Republic of Kenya, and then take them to the 47 county assemblies. The county assemblies discuss, look at the bills, and if at least half of them approve it, then it goes to the National Assembly. From there, it goes to referendum. So some of these changes that have been proposed in the Constitution, this particular bill is different from the bill that was presented initially with the BBI report. But let me just give you one of the changes. And this is talking about the number of members of the National Assembly. Currently, Article 97 of the current Constitution of Kenya 2010 says the National Assembly consists of A, 290 members, each elected by the registered voters of single-member constituencies. B, 47 women, each elected by the registered voters of the counties, and each county constituting a single-member constituency, blah, blah, blah. C, 12 members nominated by parliamentary political parties according to their proportion of members of the National Assembly. And these ones, of course, shall represent special interest groups, including youth, persons with disabilities, and workers. And then the other member of the National Assembly is the Speaker, who is an ex-official member. The proposed amendment is, first of all, delete Clause 1, which talks about 290 members of Parliament, and now bring the word Parliament shall consist of, National Assembly shall consist of 360 members of Parliament. Delete B and substitute, therefore, the following new paragraph. Now, where we're talking about 47 women reps, now we say there shall be 4 members, being 2 women and 2 men representing persons with disabilities. Deleting paragraph C and substituting and saying 2 members, 1 woman and 1 man representing the youth. And then we shall also have special seats members necessary to ensure that no more than 2/3 of members of the parliament are of the same gender. Here, what we are basically saying is no longer having woman reps, but having 360 constituencies, and then also having that saying that then we shall have nominations: 2 men and 2 women representing persons with disabilities, 2 men and 2 women representing the youth, and then you shall have special seats. This is nominations so that you fill the gender gap. There are those that have said, if you look at that, you are likely to have the National Assembly having more than 500 members, close to 500 members in the National Assembly. That is one. So many other changes that have now appeared here, and the proposals that what they're saying. Reactions already started coming out yesterday. Okay, so are we going to have such a seriously bloated legislature? Will it serve us? And then the other proposal is now let's have assistant ministers, who will be at most 22 assistant ministers, and then half of county assembly members can be taken to county executive committee. So CECs in counties will also come from the assembly. Governor will have to appoint CECs to from the assembly as well, at least half of them. Some of these changes are what is there. Read for yourself. It's also on their website, the BBI website, and then make the decision. The question that we want you to tell us is to answer and help us discuss this morning on 0719-012-600 is, are you ready to append your signature to this drive to amend the Constitution? Are you ready to append your signature to this drive to amend the Constitution? When they come to you, if they come to you, would you be ready to say, yes, 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 here are my details. This is my name, my ID number, my ward, my polling center, my constituency, my county, and here is my signature. I am ready. Let's amend the Constitution. Are you ready? Are you not? This is the poll we're conducting this morning. Are you ready to append your signature in this signature collection drive? 0719-012-600. The conversation that we were having before we went to the break of the process and how we've arrived here, we're talking about the final bill that has been published, looking slightly different from the other bill that people were, somebody was on page 7 of reading that bill and they'd be told, no, there's a new one.
There's a new one. So
go get a new one and read that new one, because there are some things that are there that are not here. So what does it speak of? What does it say, really? I mean, is it the way to go?
and
And remember what CT is saying. This is a never-ending conversation. And I think even the president and the former prime minister alluded to that. We will never agree. We need to move. Let the people decide. You look at it and make a decision. Anyway, it's been 2 years of this BBI process. We need to conclude. And also remember, if we are amending the constitution, there are timelines within which you must amend the constitution before the next general election takes place. So all these things at play, then what does that mean? What does that tell us? Are we ready then to append our signatures to this? 0719-012-600, and also you can tell us on social media, Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
You know, this debate that we have, it actually honestly must continue. Because as you correctly pointed out, that debate and our understanding of the BBI and the import is what ought to determine how we actually vote. Yes. But that having been said, you see, it was a fundamental question, and she brought in the concept of democracy. I begin to understand more and more with time that democracy isn't that shoe that fits all feet. Not really. Even then, I would at best not call it a shoe, I'd call it footwear.
Something that you put on your foot.
Something that you put on your foot and something that you think is appropriate. And it doesn't have to cover your entire foot for it to be footwear. That's what democracy looks like. Because I look at COVID and the practice of democracy in countries like Sweden, who had said, no, we are not going to enforce blah, 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 blah. We'll allow this. But COVID, having done what COVID does best, infect people and make them sick and some die, they've realized that, hey, this freedom is not working in our best interest here. It's a good thing. It's really a wonderful thing. But at some point, you have to temper it with some enforcement that, again, may appear like it's infringing on your freedom.
And it's a beautiful example that you've given, CT. Because why do you think that people had reached that point where they were able to make that decision on their own? Why do you think that in Sweden's own constitution, they are barred from forcing any kind of action on their people? First of all, so people have been used to being given certain elements within the space of governance in that country, and then they make decisions on that. That anything that a government wants to do, it is brought to the people. Honestly, to how their taxes are spent, we looked at the money that's being given here to Kenya, for example, coming from taxpayers' money in Europe. They make a decision and they say yes. By the time it's coming here and the EU is even coming to tell you that they're spending their money, do you think it's just a decision that they've made at the government level? No. The people who pay their taxes, whether it is a cleaner in a department store or a CEO sitting at the top of some corporate, they've made a decision and they have said, we are going to allow this to happen. If here the same thing was that people were so used to making a decision, I think you would have seen the same thing happen. But because you're told you can make a decision and you have that authority to do so, but at the same time somebody is throttling that and deciding to tell you this is what decision you're making, how do you think it's going to work out?
Let's hear from Gitonga in Nyeri. Good morning.
Morning to you guys. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks.
I'm sorry I've been out of touch for some days.
It's all right. We're glad you're back.
Yeah, I had some things to take care of. I got a newborn to celebrate, so that's it. Anyway,
congratulations.
Well
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. Yesterday, it happened yesterday.
Okay.
So, I got a new boy. Now, here's the thing, I remember quipping in on the BBI issue, and I told you guys that it's always going to be the financial aspect that is going to be spoken about at first to get the people hook, line, and sinker. But underground, there's something else. Now, over-representation, 500 legislators. Are you for real? And yet right now, our current budget is revolving around recurrent expenditure, but not development expenditure. It's not even enough.
So no for you.
KRE,
when they come for your signature, are you ready to append your signature to this?
I'm not even gonna wake up.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Let's hear from others as well. Thank you very much, Ed, and congratulations. Say hello to baby and mother.
Thank you. Yes, good day.
Benjamin in Nairobi, good morning.
Morning to you.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Are you ready to append your signature to this drive?
I'm not going to append my signature.
Because?
Simply because, the whole process has been rushed. There's not been enough civic education to people. these people, the way they have been conducting the whole process, it is as if the constitution only belongs to them. They don't want to give Wanjiku some time even to go through the whole document, so that Wanjiku can be able to make his or her own decision. So what is the need? Because these people are telling us that this document is the one which is going to solve all our problems which we have been experiencing since independence.
Have they really said that?
The president said it will not solve all our problems, that it will take us
but
a
the
step
way
closer.
the way they are putting it, it is as if that some of our problems, it will not be able to solve all our problems, but some of our problems,
our biggest problems,
which is not possible. Which is not possible.
Benjamin, I gotta take other callers. Thank you very much. So for you, it's no to the signatures.
Of course, now.
Thank you, Kemboy in Kiambu. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you today, Kemboy?
I'm doing good. So I want to contribute to the...
All right. Your signature, yes or no to the signatures?
No, I'm not going to append the signature because of one thing that has happened of late, because of the deleting of the proposals that has been made. That means from the onset, no one has listening to 190 concepts about this CBI. That means there is someone somewhere who is going on with this document, having the architect of the two people. That is my guess. Because why do you delete now?
Thank you, Kemboy. George in Roiro, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you, George? Yes or no to the signatures?
Yeah, I'm going to append. Yeah.
Why?
I travel a lot, and from the hardship, I can move from any place now. So I think PBI is a good thing.
So what will you be saying yes to? You want to change the amendments to the Constitution?
Yeah, and about building bridges. Okay, I haven't read the whole document, but from what has happened, from the handshake, I think now it's safe. It's safe to move to any place in Kenya. Before we had usually to have a lot of problems.
Moving.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your name, your second name usually used to betray someone.
Would bar you from visiting other parts of the country.
Yeah.
Thank you, George. Let's hear from James in Mombasa. Good morning.
Morning to you, Latif.
Salama kabisa. Mombasa mwambaje?
Mombasa tuko salama. Ni joto mingi.
Kawaida hiyo. Yes or no to the signatures?
Yeah, no. To me, I will not vote with the signatures.
Why?
Because, now, Eric, we have many problems. We have problem of COVID, unemployment, lack of money in our pockets.
Right.
So how can I make a signature to what it can benefit 2 or 3 people and leave the whole country, the millions of people suffering?
Okay, so you don't feel that this,
why am I
this has
saying
any
so?
Solutions to your current status?
Why am I saying so? It's because right now, Kenya, we have many people who are unemployed. Right now, people can't find any means of making some income. So we are doing something which even cannot benefit anyone, which is not of our priority.
Okay.
Me, what I would have do is this. The first thing is to reduce the salaries of these civil servants, like MPs, which are earning more money for nothing.
Okay.
The second, it is to make sure that our heritage is at least of some thing we call now, we are in a state where we can assist each other on health. Even if I can go to the hospital now and I don't have anything to support me in my health or my paying my bills, the money is not there. What they are talking about the NHIF is not working. So up to now,
So the
where
other
is
pressing
the money
needs.
coming from? Make these problems of PPI and the other things.
We hear you, James, and thank you very much. Let's hear from Robert Kipkemboi in Nandi. Robert, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Latif.
Okay, yes or no to the BBI signature drive?
A big capital yes.
Okay.
Why? One thing is, there are things that are common to all of us in this country.
Yep.
And the first one is stability and peace. Without that, these things about unemployment, economy, pesa kwa mfuko nini, all those cannot be sorted without peace. And that is why I'm putting peace as the first thing.
Okay. So
Next,
which proposed amendment to the Constitution would guarantee you that peace?
Thank you very much. What we've always done in this country is that thing of the winner takes it all. And there's that thing. And Mzee mwenyewe alisema jana. Mzee Uhuru mwenyewe alisema, there are people who've been complaining that they are being sidelined. And in this proposal, what we are simply saying is that after the election, the guy who comes in as number 2 has a platform to be able to articulate his ideas so that in the next general election, if people accept his ideas, then well and good, let him come back, run and win and become the leader of this country. Number 2, people are really mixing up issues here. Before the 2010 constitution, how many MPs did we have in parliament? There were 210.
Yep.
And then, no, in fact, there were less than that. And then after that, they were increased. And now we are increasing them again. If the same guys are here today complaining about the increase in number of MPs, why did they complain in the 2010 constitutional making process? And it has been increasing, and our numbers in this country are increasing. Last but not least, I'm a very passionate guy in farming, and I do tea.
Okay.
Here is a case whereby if I would say today I want the tea problems to be included in this constitution. Another guy in Kilifi, probably in Mombasa, would come in and say, I also want groundnuts to be included in what? Cashew nuts and groundnuts to be included. Another guy in Kitui would say, I want mangoes to be done what? To be included. So we have 47 million guys in this country who depend on farming, growing different crops. How many crops shall we be writing in our constitution? And that is why one summary has just been done. And I saw it at night yesterday before I appended my signature. It said, let us have sustainability of what? Agriculture.
Okay.
And that is what our deputy has been complaining about, saying that let us have what? Guaranteed minimum return. Let that go to parliament. Let it be passed as a law. If he has the majority of MPs, let him pass it and we have the money in our pocket. So first thing, peace.
Thank you, Kipkemboi.
The rest of the things, go away.
Thank you, Kipkemboi. Well articulated.
Yes.
Aya, asante. Mohamed in Mwakijembe, Kwale, good morning.
Have a blessed day, my friend.
You too, brother.
Thank you.
Wangwana, assalamu alaikum tena.
Alaikum salam, kaka.
I have a very huge no.
Yes. Why?
Yes. Because just the other day I heard that they want to reduce the salaries of civil servants and all these of public officials. So because the current expenses is really shooting up more than the development we are having. Now, if you have to have 500 plus MPs and plus and what have you, we will be choked with the taxes to sustain that expense. On one side, we can't afford to increase the salaries we want to reduce because of the recurrence. The other side, we want to increase the number of representatives so that to sustain them, we'll need another. The way to get that money is to tax the common mwananchi.
Yeah. So for you, it's a no.
So, a huge one. Plus,
Asante Mohammed.
if excuse kidogo boss. kuhusu winner takes it all, I think the best remedy is to come up with that instead of 50 plus 1. Let us make it 70% who wins with 70% majority becomes the winner.
And if
you don't make it in the first round, go to the second round.
You go to rounds until someone gets
Until
70.
you knock something out.
Yes, and that's when then. But if you go to 50, then it's very difficult because winner takes it all. The other half maybe will be disadvantaged.
Right.
Okay. So make it at 70% plus, and then we'll know the majority have it because that's democracy. Why should we go for democracy?
So, Muigai in Kahawa West, good morning. Kahawa Sukari.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I will not append my signature to this.
Why?
But regardless of that, I know probably this is irrelevant because, I mean, as you say, the train has, the ship has docked.
Yep.
So for me, this is a Trojan horse, if you ask me. So there's a lot of, you know what they say about the road to hell. There's a lot of good intentions, but there's a lot of hidden things which are, you know, have been put on top of this. So there are people who want to, you know, to maintain positions. It's clear to a person like me. But at the end of the day, they will bring small issues that will look very attractive to us, common man, to hoodwink us to win this thing. So for me, it's a no.
Thank you. Thank you, Muigai. Sam in Kisumu, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sam?
I think for me, I'll vote it. Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'll vote it. I'll also support other people to vote it.
Okay.
And the reason being simple, yeah? You saw this thing started with the handshake.
Yes.
And the handshake came to BBI.
Yep.
And one thing I like about the whole thing is the spirit that it brought, the spirit of calmness, the spirit of let's move on, let's talk and move on. Now, the spirit of let's talk and move on and look at issues that we can deal with is actually more important to me than the very many details that people are talking about. And Eric and team there, I can assure you, millions of Kenyans are now clutching on the hopes that the BBI process will generate all those beautifuls that they are talking about. And people are desperate. Some of us have children. Some have grandchildren. They are hoping for something to happen, somebody to do something to happen so that we get to the next level, whatever little that can happen.
So whatever little
And
gains, you're ready to take them.
You know, one of them is about the resources. And we are very happy because, Eric, when everything was in Nairobi, we knew what was happening. We are old enough to say what was happening when everything was in Nairobi. Now that they were devolved at the constituency level through CDF, we also saw there's no more Harambes. Hakuna kujenga shule, sasa Harambee ya kujenga shule out of CDF alone. Now the counties came, and we have also seen what has happened. I'm talking about devolved resources and also governance. Now they are talking about even devolving more. Sisi, mimi na people that I know, hata hatutaki hizo details za vitu mingi watu wanaongea hapo, Wanjiku, Atieno, nani.
Yes.
Okay.
It is yes because of the reasons I'm telling you. Eric, you know, when CDF was given 50 million, when it was increased to 100, the MPs that did well have built schools, and we have seen that. No women go to smear schools with cow dung like they used to do.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much.
Our mothers were going there to smear cow on the walls with cow dung and floor. Siku hizi hawaendi juu ya CDF. Now, county government funds, we have seen also miracles. People can get full scholarships from Form 1 to Form 4.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much. So, this is a conversation that we're going to have, in coming days as well. And what is it that you feel and think about the BBI and the BBI drive to collect the signatures and whether you'd append your signature. The first person to append her signature was actually Wanjiku. Yes, Emily Wanjiku, the first citizen to append her signature to the proposed law. She was at the KICC yesterday. It was apt that this is a Wanjiku process. So Wanjiku has said yes.
Go ahead.
Time for us to take a break on KTN Home. 5 minutes to 8 o'clock.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your 87.9 Spice FM.
So
Mombasa.
Sampling what you're hearing, those that are saying no to because of certain reasons, and those that are saying yes because of the handshake, the building bridges, and what it basically means: stability, peace, and going forward. My question that I would keep asking is: all right, so we know what the handshake meant. We know what it meant in terms of calming down the tensions and seeing the two major protagonists in the last election, coming together and working together and saying, let's forge a way that we'll never get to this point where people have to be looked for to come and spend hours taking tea and just looking at one another and not talking and then shaking hands. Let's find a long-lasting solution. Is that long-lasting solution in the BBI, in the proposed amendments to the Constitution?
I'm glad you've used the word long-lasting because a lot of these things have to do with perceptions, really. It is perceived, and perception given time is what becomes our reality. That, remember, to understand this, let me just put this alongside what happened in 2007 and who the protagonists were then. And let's look at 2013. What happened, and that's why I called it earlier on a handshake between the Deputy President and the President, it was hitherto thought of as untenable. But it happened. We saw. And that event was one positive, huge forward step. It was. We now come to 2017. We had a problem. The country wasn't doing well at all. We were at serious loggerheads. Another handshake. I like that trend. I like the trend that Kenyan leaders understand that when you have a problem, it's something you can talk about. It's something you can come to an understanding. Now, the details of the BBI are just details of a political process, okay? And the details of a political process usually solve some problems. But in doing so, they'll create others. However, you have to balance. What does it do more?
What's greater?
Yes.
Is it the problems or the solutions?
Precisely. And on this one, it is greater. What is greater is a solution. Issues are there, most certainly. But that...
You feel that the solution is greater here?
In my opinion, I think it is greater.
You'll tell us why in coming days.
Yes, I will.
In coming days, you'll tell us why. And you'll tell us exactly how we are going to realize that solution once we amend the Constitution as proposed.
Actually, I'll tell you how I think. Yes, I'm not going to go that political way of providing solutions which don't exist.
There's no home office, forget it. That's not the problem.
Keep it right here. In the next hour, we talk about healthcare and healthcare in this country. Health workers have all, from doctors to clinicians to nurses, have issued strike notices because they're saying that they are not well catered for to combat COVID-19, to deal with COVID-19 as front-line workers and fighters. That's a conversation coming up in the next hour. This is the Situation Room. It's now 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, more reports of how folks are going to sleep on the road today. Coming out of Waiakue today, an absolute mess. There's traffic everywhere you look. Down from Kangemi, then all the way towards the roundabout at Westlands, or what was. It is packed. There's a gridlock for some reason. Don't know the reason why. The bypass, however, at Red Hill can be used if you've not yet gotten to where the traffic is. Still at Mombasa Road also, we still have some problems there. Moving slowly. The southern bypass is where the hullabaloo is this morning. It is packed, and this is because of an accident way up ahead at the Ngong interchange. But it's affecting traffic, and infecting too, all the way down the road to the start of the bypass just off Mombasa Road. So if you don't need to use the southern bypass today we're going to encourage you to take the longer route, because you're going to get stuck there and maybe a bit frustrated, eh? All right, coming off of Figure Road today is where things are happening very nicely, except on Kiambu Road, however, where we are in chock-a-block traffic. Getting into the CBD then from Forest Road is a dream, because you can use that, get into the CBD, and now it's maybe in 5 minutes. All right, let us know where else you might be stuck, and we'll see how we can help. Spice FM KE, that's how you can get to us on Twitter, or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
So, as you ponder whether to append your signature or not, there are various platforms that they're using a website. They'll have officers coming to the ground and, explaining to people what is contained in the proposals, and then asking you whether you agree to append your signature, so that then your signature plus others, 1 million or so, will be taken to the IBC. They'll verify whether you're a registered voter, and if you are a registered voter and all plus million of you agree, verified, then process moves to the next stage, which is going to the county assembly. What are people saying?
Jose Joseph Mushiri says no, because right now the reason the country's loans are increasing is to support the salary of MPs and other politicians. The little money that is left is used for development. Those supporting the document be ready to buy 2 kgs of maize at 250 shillings due to high taxing to support extra seats. That's the problem that we're looking at there. Honorable Peter Rono says, I am Peter Rono from Njoro. Honestly, I can't append my signature to that report. There are more important things to deal with other than the BBI. Let's first do something for the health sector, for example, and the people who are in abject poverty. Let's do something in these areas then, before we relook at the report. Jesse Williams says, no, unless some sections are re-scrutinized. This is an added burden to the taxpayers. In fact, I support the Third Way Alliances movement. Daniel Osiamo Ndiere says, definitely yes, BBI will save us from the looting spree awaiting to happen in a couple of years. Vincent says, I say no to the BBI signature drive because I haven't even had enough time to read the document and make an informed decision. Sam Waweru says, this document is not the solution to the nation's issue. This drive is being rushed. Divergent views here. Across the board, there's a mishmash of ideas here that people are giving reasons why. And I think that one thing that's coming out of this is that people think, look, even if it comes to accepting of this initiative, of this report, of this BBI, that we're not going to be able to afford it. Right now, with what we have, the largest piece of expenditure that you have as a government is the salaries and remuneration of legislators and those in public service. That's the largest piece you have for expenditure. Now, essentially what you're saying is that bring in more. And a lot of worry for those who are saying no is that, look, we're not going to be able to afford it. We just don't have the money. We don't have the money to pay.
Can't afford it. The next parliament to be voted for in 2022 could have more than 500 lawmakers if the proposals of this bill come to fruition. This means that parliament could spend more than 20 billion shillings per year, because the number might rise to as much as 630 MPs. 630.
Now you have how many?
How many days do we have in a year?
365, sometimes 366.
All right. So parliament does not sit every day.
No.
Okay. How many times would one MP contribute in parliament? Right now, there, all those that say, because of the number of members that we have in Parliament, when there's an important debate or motion being discussed, and Parliament is full house, not many of them get to participate. And that's why now participation happens a lot more in the committees than on the floor of the House. All these are debates that are going to happen in the next couple of days on what is expected and what's going on and then what we are seeing. So let's now even look at, have the proposals or presentations by healthcare workers been addressed in terms of formation of a Health Services Commission? Initially, the proposal was that the Health Services Commission shall be introduced via piece of legislation, so it shall be just by an act of Parliament. Doctors were like, no, we'd like this to be a constitutional commission. I've just flipped through the bill itself. I have not seen there's an addition of a constitutional commission apart from the youth commission. The constitution is amended to now create the establishment of a youth commission, what development fund and such other things in terms of healthcare workers and whether their pleas have been heard. That's something else. Let's have a conversation anyway about healthcare and how we're dealing with COVID-19. Health workers want to go on strike. And they're saying that some basics have not been met. There's how many healthcare workers are employed in government, how much they are paid, in terms of now fighting COVID-19, how they are facilitated to fight COVID-19, provision of PPEs. The chairman of the Council of Governors said yesterday, and he's been quoted in the paper, saying that the health facilities across the country are overwhelmed and that they have not been able to adequately supply PPEs to the healthcare workers. Why? Because the National Treasury has been delaying the disbursement of funds to the counties, therefore now also delaying the counties' purchase of PPEs and provision of the same to the health workers. 1. 2, health workers have complained about their terms of service, especially medical insurance. At this point, when health workers are at risk of contracting COVID-19 from work, they have not been insured. So they're saying, come on, we need some form of insurance to take care of us, take care of our families as we're fighting COVID-19. So some of these demands that have been put forth by the healthcare workers are not even new. They're not just because of COVID-19. These are discussions that they've had before. These are, they've had back and forth with the government on these matters. And now doctors, Pharmacists and Dentists Union has issued a 21-day strike notice. It's already a couple of days gone. The Nurses Union issued a strike notice the other day. The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has also issued a strike notice. All of them want to go.
It's going to happen. Because look at it. It doesn't look like somebody's playing a game of dominoes here, that you knock one and then everything else kind of falls in rapid succession. It's that truly there are concerns that have not been dealt with. There are concerns that, people and folks are saying we're just trying to do our job, essentially. And we're saying that the bare minimum, give us the bare minimum to be able to expend our duties. We're not asking for luxury. We're not asking for things that we're asking to pull out of a magic hat. We're just saying the bare minimum. Protection in terms of equipment and allowance, insurance, so that we can be kept healthy to continue to fight this thing. That's what we're asking for.
They should ask for everything.
They've tried that before and it's not worked.
No.
So they're saying let us start from the beginning. If that one is too hard for you, okay, we're taking some steps. We retracted and taking some steps back and said, please give us a little bit so that we can do the work. We'll talk about the allowance and the other things later.
I understand that they have, it's not even a wish list or a demand list. It's just a presentation of the reality of the circumstances and what they think would best serve their interest. Now, that's what people look at a negotiating table. So, this bare minimum only makes sense if we're saying this is what we want, but we are starting with this as we move along, and then you have a schedule. Now, unfortunately, teachers have had similar arrangements where they are told this is what you can expect, but expect more in the future, and that future will represent this. That doesn't happen. So the debate here is not the promise. The debate is the broken promises, which are consistent and constant. And that is why this position is being taken, and that's why the hardline speeches and talk come into being. Because discussions have been had, agreements have been arrived at, and then those agreements have either not been fulfilled or they've been outrightly, broken. Yes. Now, we talk about Parliament and the numbers. I actually don't have a problem with those numbers. I don't actually have a problem. The issue is not the numbers in my mind. In my mind, the question is, it becomes an issue when you compare it with other things that are happening which you think are important. We don't need to see our members of parliament every day. We don't need to interact with them every day. But some of these people, the teachers, the doctors, actually we interact with them very often. Very, very often. You don't even need to be sick to interact with them. So long as you have people who relate to you, you will be interacting with them through these fellows. Somebody will fall sick. Somebody will need to go and see a doctor. Now, if you look at the gaps we have in the provision of teachers and the ratio of student to teachers or the ratio of doctors to the population in this country, it is horrible. The bare minimum, which has been set by bodies that understand these things internationally, we fall far short of it. And yet, our institutions have trained people. So we have a surplus. But do we really? We actually don't have a surplus. What we have are people who are trained but are not employed, and so they are not in the system. It's not a surplus.
Yeah.
Now, if these people were employed, this is the question I'm asking, and anyone who are trained as a doctor or a clinician or a health worker could get a job, and people who trained as teachers could get a job, would we then look at the numbers of MPs that are being proposed and would we consider it an issue?
Not really. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be an issue. Let's talk to some of these doctors' union leaders. And we're joined by Peterson Wachira, and also shortly we'll be joined by Alfred Obengo. Peterson is the national chairman of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, and Alfred Obengo is the president of the National Nurses Association of Kenya. Let's begin with Peterson. Good morning, sir. Hello, Peterson.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. And thank you very much for speaking to us. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you. Very nice debate going on here.
Asante. Now, your union, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, issued a strike notice, and you want to down your tools because of what you feel that the government has not done to help the clinical officers across the country adequately fight COVID-19. What are some of the main demands that you have put forth?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And indeed, I think it's a conversation that we should actually have and have as Kenyans, because this is not actually a health workers problem. It's a Kenyan problem. And I wish there will come that day when actually the common Wanjiko and Aziambo will realize that actually they need to fight for the right that has been granted by the Constitution in Article 43. So the demands that we have put forth are very basic demands. The demands are about the issues, the items that will actually enable us to be able to deliver that quality healthcare that has been envisioned by the Constitution. And we are talking about the provision of adequate quality of the right PPE. If you watched, and if you may have seen what transpired during the Senate meeting, you would have probably had the experience of one of our colleague clinical officers from OAS in Gishi, who was actually who contracted COVID-19 at work, and because the protocols are not actually being followed at the workplace in terms of you are not given the right PPE, because it's very clear from the guidelines from the Ministry of Health. If you are going to be in a consultation room where you are going to see patients who may have respiratory symptoms, then you are supposed to have an N95 mask and eye protection. They work with only a surgical mask, and they are actually two in the room seeing two patients at a go. So number one, we are asking is the right PPE and in right quantities, in adequate quantities. Then we are asking for those vulnerable, the vulnerable group of clinical officers, to be excluded from, exempted from active duty, so that then we can be able to save them, because the WHO, the CDC, and all the authorities in the health sector have actually come forward and said this vulnerable group, if then they are going to be infected, they are vulnerable to get a severe or critical disease and even death. And through to that, we have been able to see that almost 100% of the health workers that we have actually lost, they belong to this vulnerable category.
Peter,
Then
if you're
talk
looking around the
about,
country, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and it is clear in that
Yes,
respect. But if you look around the country, are we saying that clinical officers in medical facilities, whether, and of course here we're looking at public facilities, actually do not have what they need to expend their duties in a safe environment? They don't have.
They do not have. I can tell you this confidently, and I wish actually you can take a tour. Most of them will only have actually a surgical mask. They have not been provided with even eye protection, which is the basic standard according to the guidelines by our own Ministry of Health.
Mm-hmm. And I must ask the question. It might sound like a silly one, but then when you present it to those who are then in a position to do something about it, say, look, this is what we are dealing with. We don't have the necessary equipment to be able to get our job done in a safe environment. What are you told?
There is no response. We have not gotten any response since March of this year when we started giving our advisories. We have not received a single response from the ministry and even from the Council of Governors. And there are even other more weighty issues. Like when we talk about the comprehensive cover, I can tell you I'm in WhatsApp groups where we are contributing to be able to cater for medical bills for our own medics. One of them actually died in KU, and we had to do a harambe overnight to be able to offset a bill of 268, despite having tried to get the CEO of KU to intervene, despite having written to the Director General of Health to be able to intervene. We actually having to contribute so that we can be able to actually either offset the bill to go and bury, or even to offset the bill so that somebody can be discharged. So you can imagine this situation where, number one, you are not provided with the right PPE. Then once you fall in, you don't have a medical cover, you have to rely on yourself. You don't even have a risk allowance that is commensurate, that can actually allow you to be able to pay your medical bills. So sometimes we are very demoralized, and I can assure you, we are actually helping the country as a union because we are giving them hope that something is going to happen. But if they actually would not even have hope that there is an intervention to ensure that things are right and priorities are right, you can actually see health workers start walking away from the health facilities because somebody feels that I'm risking for somebody, for a government that actually does not even care about me. Yeah.
So what is the recourse here? What is the next? I mean, what are the actions that need to be taken? And I see that you're in a difficult position, a difficult situation, because here you are tasked with healthcare. I mean, that's clear. Somebody coming in, they need to be attended to as patients. But then your employer, as such, has not created what it is that you need to be able to operate. So you're stuck in between a rock and a hard place, whereby you've taken, responsibility to do this, but then you need certain things to be done in order for you to do your job. So what needs to happen next, and what have you said will happen?
So actually for us, what we have done now, I think we have agreed across the board that the priorities must be set right. And that is why you have seen ourselves, the nurses and the doctors, come out and issue a strike notice that is going to elapse on the 7th of December, so that we can get these people, because it's not a problem, it's not an issue of resources. We have resources. We are making PPEs locally. It's not an issue of resources. It's an issue of misprioritization. And I've never understood why the health sector and the health leadership and health workers in this country is treated with contempt by government. That is something that will be very hard for me to fathom, because that is what we feel. So by 7th of December, if then they will not have been able to do this, we are going to walk out of the facilities so that then the government can, because our government seems to work in a situation of a crisis, then they can set their priorities right and ensure that these people are actually provided with what they are supposed to be provided with. Because I can assure you that it's even possible for us to walk out right now, because the Occupational Safety and Health Act provides that if your environment is hazardous and risky to your health, you are actually allowed to walk out, and that does not constitute abscondment of duty. So we can actually be able to walk out and walk out legally, but because we feel Kenyans and these are our brothers and sisters, and we are part of this society, we would not want to do that. We are trying to hold on, praying that the government will at last be able to put the priorities where they are supposed to be, and then we can be able to take care of Wanjiku. But I would call on Wanjiku also, the common Kenyan, to come out and to ask the hard questions. Why are we being told about a political process that does not actually even talk about the health sector when we are having a health crisis that the government is not even able to solve? And you can see the content in the manner that the BBI has been crafted. I think for the longest time that we have been asking for a health service commission, and you can see that despite our constant reminders, despite our lobbying, they have actually refused to entrench a health service commission in the constitution, which would actually be a solution to 98% of the strikes that we have actually been having in the health sector. And if you can allow me, I can be able to explain how this health service commission can actually be able to solve this.
We'll allow you as we continue the conversation. I'd like at this point to bring in Alfred Obengo. Alfred is the president of the National Nurses Association of Kenya. Alfred, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you, Eric. You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
Yes. Sorry, I had some technical problems, but I think now I'm on air.
Yes, you are. And we thank you for joining us. So your National Nurses Association of Kenya, nurses countrywide are also enjoining themselves to this industrial action by the clinical officers, by doctors, pharmacists, and dentists. What are your reasons as nurses?
I want to say from the outset that it's unfortunate at a time of a crisis like this, when you have a pandemic that is killing people daily, we should talk about an industrial arrest in a country, in a civilized country, and a country that regards itself as amongst the middle income and developing country. You know, Eric, if you look at the body language of the political class, it's like that we are not living in the same country. At a situation whereby we have a non-existent medical cover for the healthcare professionals who are being regarded as the frontline warriors and are receiving daily verbal appreciation from the political class. To me, that is a total hypocrisy. When you have a situation whereby we have inadequate provision of PPEs to our frontline warriors, and we keep on giving them verbal appreciation, that is, I think, misplaced. When you have a situation whereby we have no workman's compensation for the healthcare workers at a time like this, I think that one is an issue that we should not even be debating. When you have a situation whereby the majority of the health workers, the clinical officers, the nurses, are earning a health risk allowance of 3,800 at a time like this, when they are dying and they are being infected by the ravaging virus, I think it's a very sad situation. When you have a situation whereby we have inadequate health human resource and we have a crisis, then we don't even know where to start the debate. When you have a situation whereby you are employing health workers, clinical officers, nurses on contractual employment that actually is similar to employing casual workers in a mjengo, and we have a crisis, then we don't know whom we are dealing with. So, Eric, we have a government that has their priorities upside down, and I don't know what will make Kenyans more angrier than actually seeing a government that is building bridges with politics, and yet it's has swept their health to under the carpet.
Let's have this conversation after this break. Let's take a break now at 25 minutes after 8. We are speaking with Peter Wachira. He is the chairman of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, and Alfred Obengo, he's the president of the National Nurses Association of Kenya. You know, clinical officers, nurses, and also doctors, pharmacists, and dentists have separately issued strike notices. All of them expire on the 7th of December. So after the 7th of December, if the basic minimum requirements and demands have not been met, we are going to witness health workers downing their tools at this point when we are battling COVID-19, plus everything else that we've been dealing with in our healthcare system. This is a conversation that must be had, and we will continue with it. 26 minutes after 8, we are live on Spice FM, on KTN Home, and online. We'll be back shortly.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
It has been a tough year for your business, hasn't it? But you hung in there. You pressed on. You persevered. And now it's time to rise up. It's time to get ready, to get going, to get selling. And Google is here to help you rise up. Get free training and tools to help your businesses adapt and grow online. Visit g.co/Grow Africa to start now.
They are smart, they are funny, and unfailingly entertaining. They are the adults in the room, and they are here to help you be the best adult you can be.
Just to be very honest with each other here. Not all of us are going to get tall, dark, and handsome. Not all of us are going to get 0.5s or chotaras. Some of us have to learn the short guys. Some of us have to learn those pot-bellied people. Some of us have to learn older men or younger men.
Spice.
Don't ask your partner if he or she enjoyed it. I think the approach should always be, if she's enjoyed the journey, she will let you know.
Yeah.
She'll tell you, hey, maze, your bus is big. Mi sijaipanda basi kubwa kama hii. Juu hata hii basi, hiyo mafuta tulieka yote, imetuleta hapa vizuri. Hii basi iko na nguvu. Hii basi iko na nguvu.
Spice.
Now into a relationship, it becomes like you've stopped your life, and then now me, I am your life. You see, like, what happened to your life? What happened to you? What did you used to do?
And women are guilty about that. No,
Is your wife listening to the show?
Whether it is matters of the weather with Spice FM.
All right, looking into Nairobi now, we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions for the most part. We'll see highs of 27 today and a chance of rain later in the afternoon. Into Nyeri, 17 degrees and mostly sunny conditions, highs of 23 and lows of 16. It's mostly cloudy in Nyeri at 17, highs of 23 and lows of 15. Eldoret is sunny at 14, highs of 22 and lows of 13. It's sunny in Kisumu at 18, highs of 28 and lows of 17. Kakamega is sunny at 18, highs of 28 and lows of 15. Light rain in Mombasa this morning, 27 degrees, highs of 30 and lows of 25. We're looking at sunny conditions at 18 in Malindi with highs of 28 and lows of 16. It's mostly sunny in Kampala at 20, highs of 25 and lows of 17. Light rain in Dar es Salaam, 27 degrees, highs of 30 and lows of 25. Light rain in Johannesburg at 18, highs of 23 and lows of 16. It's also raining in Lagos at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 25. Kinshasa this morning is 24 degrees. Rain throughout most of the morning with highs of 30 and lows of 24. Okay, so the service lanes on Thika Road today are causing a bit of a problem. It's jam-packed in those areas. Mombasa Road also in both directions today, in and outbound. We have some problems where it's chocker blocked. We're still seeing that the Southern Bypass has some problems this morning. I'm taking a breath on your behalf because I don't know how people are going to be able to get through this one today. It's going to take some time before you're out. Stick to the highway again on Thika Road because the service lanes no-go zone today. Coming out of Kiambu Road and joining the Thika Superhighway, not too bad at this point. Kiambu Road is where the mishmash is. But once you get onto the highway, stick to that. You can then join Forest Road or continue on your way on Maranga Road, then now into the city centre. Mombasa Road is still a mess. We're still having those problems there. And Bagadi Way is moving very slowly today. We know that only one lane is being used as you then try to approach Ngong Road, getting and then out into the city or into other parts. All right, so this is what it looks like, guys. Not too pretty, but it needs some patience this morning. Spice of MKE, talk to us if you see something we should know about, and share that information with others as well. 40127 on text.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings. It's the Situation Room, broadcasting on Spice FM, on KT and Home, and online. We're talking about the welfare of health workers in the country. All cadres, this is from doctors, dentists, pharmacists, clinicians, and nurses, have issued strike notices. From the 7th of December, if the government does not meet the minimum demands, then they're all going to down their tools. And we're speaking on the line with Alfred Obengo. Alfred is the president of the National Nurses Association of Kenya, and Peterson Washira, who is the national chairman of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. CT.
COVID notwithstanding, what will be different this time? Because health workers have gone on strike before. So what is this thing that will be achieved that had previously not been achieved?
Let's start with you, Alfred. I mean, this is not the first time that nurses are downing their tools. Nurses have downed their tools many times before, several times before, with various demands. This time, how different do you expect it to be?
It's not something that we enjoy, leaving our workstations and going to the streets or abandoning our solemn duties. In fact, it's not something that we enjoy. But nobody also wishes to be in a fighting mood forever. But if that's what it calls for you to be listened to, so be it. Because, in fact, the issues that we are raising, the entire health workforce is raising, are issues that have been there like for the last 10 years. These are songs that we've sung, but as usual, it has become business as usual for the authorities. The issues of employing more healthcare workers, issues of better terms of service, and now this has been aggravated by the pandemic and the invisible enemy that we are facing. So they are not really new issues.
Sure, they're not new issues, Alfred, and I think that is the question. They're not new issues. It's not the first time a strike notice has been given. It is not the first time that a strike notice would be given and then you'll be called back and everybody goes back to work. Now, with the new entrance into this whole problem, like COVID and all of these other things, lack of funds, etc., what's to guarantee that this particular strike notice going through is going to yield the results that you're essentially looking for? Is somebody going to be able to come to you on the 7th of December or the 8th of December and say, okay, we're going to look into this, and then everybody's going to trot back to work? That's the question.
They say that you cannot shake hands with a clenched fist. So for us, we've said we are ready for dialogue, and we've been ready for dialogue as of yesterday. And the onus is on the authorities, both the national and the county government. And some of these issues that we're actually talking about are things that can be ironed in just a few minutes. They are very, some of them don't even require the magnitude of resources that you are seeing being used in other portals. So it's just the lack of that positive attitude and the casual manner that the authorities have handled the health workers is what actually is bringing this kind of situation.
Okay.
And if we could lower our political brinkmanship to the extent that each side is looking at the other one, that what's the worst you can do. I think that's where we're having the problem. And it's just a matter of us sitting on the table, ironing issues which can be ironed now, because we are also patriotic Kenyans.
Sure.
We understand where the country is, what the citizens of this country are facing. But to the extent that we're also seeing some level of contempt from the other side, is what is really infuriating our members. I mean, at a time like this, is not the time to delay even just salaries of the health workers, mere salaries of the health workers.
Forgive me for belaboring the point, Alfred, and also this question for you, Peterson. Are you looking for a promise? Because it seems to me this is what had been before. Somebody comes in and we see that things are getting thick, people are in hospital, and there's nobody to cater to their needs. And a promise is made, maybe 2-3 months of an allowance is given, and you go back on that promise. It has happened before. And is that what we're looking at now? You're talking about dialogue. Somebody can come and sit with you at the table and say, all right, in the next 3 months, we're going to do this, right? Is that enough for you to go back? Is that enough to get things rolling in the way in which they should be? Are you looking for a promise, or are you looking for action to make sure that you then say, okay, we're going to call off the strike, or we're going to or take back the notice? What exactly are we saying here?
Let me give you a very basic example of when
minimum.
Let's hear from Peterson.
Okay, sorry. So what we have given is the bare minimum. You cannot sit and negotiate about the sanctity of life. How can we sit and decide whether we are going to let our vulnerable die or not? I think it's not a question of negotiation. Some things like exempting the vulnerable is a must do. Some things like providing the right PPE and in adequate quantities is a must do. These are bare minimums that we are actually not going to sit with anybody to negotiate, because these are things that they are supposed to have actually provided. The comprehensive medical cover, those are bare minimums. The risk allowance. But for posterity now, looking ahead so that we do not come to this situation again, that is why we have been proposing the entrenchment of a Health Services Commission in the Constitution, so that in future it will sort out the challenges that will always be taking us on these perennial strikes. So we were looking at the immediate, and we are also looking at posterity. What do we need for posterity so that we can actually be able to cure the challenges that we have? So that, do you know that in the last about 7 years of devolution, we have actually counted that we have issued 103 strike notices.
In 7 years, 103. And if I can ask you, just as you're giving that statistic, 103 strike notices in a 7-year period. Can I ask you what has been achieved as a result of that? Because if we're looking at a time today, look, guys, we're not looking for solution for next year. We're looking for solutions today, whereby COVID-19 is ravaging the country, as well as affecting health workers who are needed right now to sort out the problem. What will be achieved with this one that is different from the last 103?
I can assure you we have been met with the same content. They give very short-term solutions so that within several months, and then you come back to the same problem and you're issuing a notice on the same. And you know, the challenges that we have actually had is about simple management of human resource. And that is, if you look at those are critical areas that actually have commissions like the TSC, you will never see them go on strike because of these mega issues like promotions, like delayed salary, a salary that actually comes from the exchequer and has been given to a county, but they cannot actually be able to pay the same in time. They are not able to remit even your own deduction, so that you cannot actually be able to access your NHIF cover. So these are very mega management issues that can be sorted by actually just ensuring that there is a system that professionally looks at this. But politicization of the health sector, because that is the main problem, is what actually that has caused all these challenges, and that is the reason as to why they do not want to commit enough resources. They give short-term solutions. And I agree with you. Sometimes it's very frustrating because it has become a norm that you'll have a strike, you'll have short-term solutions, and then 6 months down the line, you'll have a strike from the same problem. And it's as equally frustrating to even ourselves.
In your opinion, sir, why do you think this matter, which as you presented is actually fairly straightforward, the forming of a commission, doctors are far fewer than teachers. How is it that the teachers were able to get one and the doctors are not able to get one?
So the thing is, as I have said, the biggest mistake, and I'll say it straight, is that we politicize the health sector. That is the biggest mistake this country has ever made. And I've listened to big brains in this country, including Mohisa Kitui, who has said that is a mistake that we actually did.
What do you mean by politicizing the health sector? How?
We gave the management of the health sector to politicians. We devolved into counties and it's managed by politicians.
As opposed to be managed by a health professional, for example.
Not a health professional per se. It should be managed by HR professionals, people who are professional looking at it, and with an endeavor to meet the vision of Article 43 to provide the highest standards of health that actually Kenyans can be able to access. But what we are seeing now, health is being used to meet political ends.
Yes, but what prevents the commission from being set? That is what I really like your opinion on this matter.
Good. And that is where I'm coming to. A health service commission will be a commission similar to TSC that will have people who every day wake up and look at the HR issues professionally. It is a human resource management commission. And so it will not be governed by political interest. And let me tell you the challenges that actually counties have that they should actually accept so that we can actually be able to help them to even be able to strengthen devolution by taking away the HR to a centralized place where they can be managed professionally. Number one, we are not able to recruit health workers because we do not have resources. And even where we have the resources, we have hit the ceiling of PFM marks, the 30/70 for development and recurrent expenditure. And I have met several governors who have actually told me that they cannot be able to employ because of that. They cannot be able to promote health workers because of the same. And if a health service commission then comes in, they will get direct budgetary allocation from the treasury, and the issues of ceilings will be able to go away. They will be able to recruit and promote and even take people back to school as is required. And if you do a comparative analysis with the TSC, you can see they're even employing 10,000 annually because they have that capacity. They do not have those ceilings and limitations. That is one item. Number two, as I said, you can see what politicization of the health sector has done. It has brought in these short-term contracts, 3 to 5 years. They are now saying that going forward, they will be engaging all health workers on a contract of 3 to 5 years. What will that impact the health sector? What it will do is that in the next 20 years, when some of us who are on PNP are going to go home on retirement, you will have everybody on contractual terms. They will not be able to go back to school and specialize, and so your quality that you can access of healthcare is going to go down. And I can assure you, you will be going to Uganda and Tanzania to look for a simple consultant because in Kenya you will not get them. The other reason is, once the contracts are entrenched, we will become similar to the ward administrators who, when the governor comes in, they will bring in somebody who is loyal to them. Then, when the next governor comes in, they'll say, these were brought in by the campaigners for the other governor, so at the end of the contract, I'll send them away, and then I'm going to bring in some other health workers. And I can assure you that the quality that a Kenyan has been guaranteed by the Constitution will not actually be achieved, that the life expectancy of Kenyans looking forward is going to actually go down, and what the government is actually doing is shooting itself on the foot.
So, Alfred,
devolution of health.
If I can bring in Alfred here,
yes.
based on what you're saying now, Peterson. So, are we looking at an issue that goes beyond just allowances and insurance for nurses, clinical officers, doctors across the country? We're looking at deeper issues that need to be sorted out. It almost seems as if we are saying, raise everything to the ground and then start from scratch. Is that what we're saying, Alfred?
Actually, we are looking at a collapsed public healthcare system. And the public healthcare system collapsed courtesy of the haphazard process and how the healthcare system was evolved. It is quite clear, it's a fact that the county government had not actually put up the requisite infrastructure to absorb the healthcare, especially the human resource component within the healthcare service. And that's why the public healthcare system has collapsed, to the extent that a simple disease like cholera that we had eradicated as before COVID, now that at least we have issues of simple hand hygiene, we've been able to handle cholera. But it was something that it was coming back again to ravage our citizens. That's a disease that had been wiped out because of an effective public healthcare system. That's just one of the examples. So it is a fact, and as my colleague has said, the other issue that informs us and actually demonstrates that you have a collapsed public health system, that you cannot have, like, every 2 months, every 3 months, an industrial arrest within the health sector. I mean, which country entertains that? Because health is the bedrock of the economy. Today, if you tell us that you want to share prosperity, you want to share prosperity with a dying citizenry. So that's what you're saying, that there are deeper issues, and for me, that's why I'm actually for a constructive, objective dialogue without these knee-jerk reactions. Every time there's a problem, there's these short-term solutions that don't even address the main problems. And we have a disease in Kenya of always finding simple solutions to complex problems, and the vice versa, finding complex solutions to simple problems. And I want just to address a very basic thing on the current issue that you're facing about the pandemic. We have been told that we are fighting an invisible enemy, right from the words of His Excellency the President. That means that we are in a war. And this is a war that is against the country. And the frontline warriors, the first and last line of defense that we have are the health workers. So you just do a comparative analysis of when we are sending our defense forces, maybe to Somali or wherever, to defend our borders. By the time they're leaving their homes, there are issues of insurance, about how the families are going to be taken care of. The issues of incentives have been settled before even they leave their house. To us, they send us to the field there, the battlefront, without the necessary ammunition, and they expect us to win this war. So those are simply what we are facing as of now. How do you send your soldier without a gun to fight the enemy?
Alfred, as you raise these issues, and the way you're talking about them, it's the issues of healthcare and healthcare workers and how health workers are taken care of are things that you and Peterson have articulated quite well this morning. On the other hand, unions have actually, and the leadership of the unions have actually been raising these issues over and over and over again. Now we are heading towards the 7th of December, where you are threatening to down your tools to not turn up to work. And just like Citi had asked earlier, this is not the first time that you're going to take this action. And you have said some of the minimums are make sure that we're provided with the basics, the PPEs and all. And then you're also saying that it's likely that you're going to get some results for a couple of weeks and then it will be back to factory settings. Isn't it time for your union leaders like yourselves to think of a different approach? Is there any other approach that you can deploy apart from just issuing strike notices, signing CBAs, going back to work and then complaining that what you had signed is not being implemented and issuing fresh strike notices? Anything else that you can do apart from that? Any new strategy?
Thank you, Eric. I have suggested this one even to the CS, Honorable Mutai Kagwe, if he's listening to this program today, that why can't we have a stakeholder forum or conference just for 2 or 3 days, stakeholders within the health sector, so that we can sit down as Kenyans. Not even we forget about our positions like I'm a union leader or we sit down as Kenyans and thrash out some of these pertinent issues that are affecting the healthcare industry. For me, that forum can come out with both short-term and long-term recommendations and resolutions on how, and action points on how we can handle the. I've suggested that twice, but we've never been given that chance. Just to sit down as healthcare stakeholders, the associations, the unions, the leadership, the administration, the management within Afri House and the county government. I mean, we are all Kenyans. We are
But
not,
I have to ask this question again. I mean, I'm going to sound repetitive here, but others before you have sat down, others before you have discussed, what is it this time that you're going to do that is different that will guarantee the results that you want?
We will not give up. Somebody once said that even if you say, you tell the authorities or the government, you usually equate them to a stone, and they don't hear. Keep on telling them. Because let it go on record that you raise the issue instead of keeping quiet. We will not tire, Eric. And some of these things, you may look at us as people who are selfish. But let me give you the example of, may God rest his soul in eternal peace, our member of parliament, whom, if there was an oxygen supply in his dearest health facility, he will not have passed on. And then the MPs come on with some crocodile tears telling us about being helicopters that are supposed to evacuate some people to another. I mean, that is not the solution. The solution is to fix our healthcare infrastructure, provide them with the basic items, so that if you need oxygen, as of now, because the COVID virus is eating the lungs of the people infected, they need oxygen at that. And if you don't get it within a few hours, you're gone. So these are the things that sometimes we talk about even without talking about our own issues. That apart from looking at the welfare of the healthcare workers, let us also invest in the healthcare system, in the healthcare infrastructure, so that we can be able to provide our citizens with the highest standards of healthcare as enshrined in the Constitution. And you see, let me give you another example of Isiolo, whereby our own governor, who is the chair of the health committee within the COG, launched a critical care unit some 4 months ago. 4 months down the line, and there's a lot of showbiz about, I have this number of ventilators, I have this number of beds for an ICU setup. 4 months down the line, his own health worker, a nurse, dies on the way when she's being transferred from Isiolo to Nairobi because of lack of critical care services within Isiolo. And yet he had launched a critical care department in that county.
Yeah.
That means that we actually play PR with health. You are buying machines, you are buying beds, you are painting buildings, but the requisite specialized health workers are not there to work there. So these are the kind of picture that we are seeing.
Alfred and Peterson, we thank you very much for speaking to us. I think we'll be coming back to you in a couple of days as we head towards the 7th of December when your strike notice expires, and see what action you are going to take, what actions you're willing to take, and then also what the government is responding to this from the county level to the national level. What is it that can be done in order to ensure that we save the Kenyans who are seeking health services, not just from COVID, but from all other ailments, and also to ensure that our health system is well sorted now and going forward. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Alfred Obengo is the president of the National Nurses Association of Kenya, and Peterson Washira is the national chairman of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Asante sana. 5 minutes to 9 o'clock. Time for us to take a break on KTN Home. We'll be back shortly. Actually, saying goodbye to our audience on KTN Home, coming up to 9 o'clock. Join us again tomorrow morning on Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. This conversation continues right here on Spice FM. So there we have healthcare workers who are saying this is what we have been facing over and over again. We have tried to have conversations with various levels of government, and what we get versus what is required are not matching. How do we advance this conversation? How do we have a conversation then that looks at health as a whole, just like what I'm quoting here, what the devolution CS Eugene Omalo, who spoke yesterday at a forum that was also attended by the chairman of the Council of Governors. It was an ISPAC annual conference in Mombasa. Devolution CS Eugene Omalo said We need to improve health services, and the national and county governments must work together on this. The pandemic has also shown us why we need to prioritize the health sector.
Okay, that's what he said.
Yes. How can we transform these words into action? Action at the national level, action at the county level, action.
Why is he telling
countrywide.
us what is patently obvious? And
It's a realization.
No,
I mean, he's
that-
speaking what he's saying. This
that can't be a realization with reference to the health sector, because it's like telling me that if it is raining and I walk out, I will be wet. Of course I will be wet.
I'm a bit worried that it has taken this pandemic to show a problem that you've been resident with the last 10 odd 20 years. I'm a bit worried that it took something like this for you to realize the waters in which you have been swimming. You should have been very evident to you what you were living with, the circumstances under which you were operating. Even more so that the people who are the drivers, the worker bees in this same system, have been telling you over and over and over again that this is actually the situation. And then you want to come and tell us that it is the pandemic that has actually shown you the problem? Come on. Tell us something else. That means you're unaware of your surroundings, you're unaware of the situation, or you were aware and chose not to do anything about it.
No,
but
the
then you want to
government is
join the
aware.
choir.
If
You
you
want to
look
join
at-
the choir because COVID has come, and then you want to say, yes, actually now, because COVID has come, we have actually seen what the problem is.
We can say the government is aware, and that's why the president, for example, put health as one of his legacy agenda, saying let's introduce universal health coverage. Let's look at our health sector. Let's see what we can do. Let's fund it better. Let's equip it better. Let's facilitate it. Let's bring in the doctors. Even going to Cuba to bring in the doctors, controversial as it may be, it shows you that there has been conversation in State House and at Harambee House about health.
So then,
and it's clear to the government at that national level that there is something that needs to be fixed.
So the trickle down, then the trickle down is where the problem was, because at the top it was clear. Look, we have a problem here, and this one we need to fix it. So I am giving now from an executive point of view that this is what needs to be done. So further down the chain, further down the ladder is where the problem is in terms of implementation of some of these things, to say it's clear what the problem is. For you to then come and say, actually, you know what? Along the line, we've realized that things are actually a lot worse than we thought.
There may be a lot of things that are happening that we are not aware of because we haven't been informed. But if we go by just the optics, what we see is exactly what we hear, meaning we hear more than what we see. Because every time there's a problem, there are words that are spoken of regarding that particular problem. And this is my beef here. And it's a constant beef. Maybe there is a lot more that the Minister Omalwa said. Okay, maybe
It's true.
Yes, there's a lot more he said. But the need to talk about what you want to do and what you're doing about it, in my opinion, should immediately follow or should even supersede highlighting what is patently, as I said, obvious. Right, we have this problem. Then, these meetings that our healthcare workers want, it is necessary. They have problems. It is clear. These aren't new problems. It's COVID that is new. But the problems that they're talking about, they're not new. They're just specific now. Some of them are specific. Essentially, what we've done is we've added more problems than which were there before.
Maybe what is needed is just for the government then to look at it and elevate it in terms of priorities. Put it up there, say this is an emergency. Let's first of all, let's discuss this on a daily basis, if it needs to be discussed on a daily basis, until we see movement.
And actually follow up these words with action.
Yeah, until we see movement. Say, all right, so we're supposed to hire healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, clinical officers, technicians and all. How many do we need to hire? Within what time should we hire them? Get it done.
And also, Eric, the honesty you spoke of, how many can we actually hire? Say it.
How many can we afford at this
Yes, how many can we afford at the moment? We'll hire these and we will work on affording more later. Blanket statements with nothing specific, no specific timelines. How on earth is that useful?
These conversations must continue and we'll continue having them. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting on Spice FM online. We've been on KTN Home for 2 hours. We'll be on KTN again tomorrow morning. In the next hour, we have more and more conversations, especially about how to get your business more visible online. Our Google expert, Rosemary Momanyi-Opio, will be with us. She has more goodies and more questions today to see how we understand the lessons that she's been giving us. Good morning, 9 o'clock.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Traffic.
Okay, so what are we looking at here? Looking a little bit better on the roads this morning. Heading out of Mombasa Road, in and outbound. Also, we see it's moving slowly, but then past General Motors, you're all right. You just need to get away from that clog that is right around the SGR and then moving towards the JKIA turnoff. But then you should be all right after that. Looking at Eastlands and right on the Eastleigh area, then joining and coming out towards Muranga Road. Then as you join the traffic that's coming from the Thika Superhighway, that's moving very slowly right now as you then approach the Globe Cinema overpass. Don't forget Forest Road behaving very well today, so you can use that with no problem whatsoever. On Thika Road, however, avoid the service lanes. Your best bet is to stick to the highway today. That's where things are moving along just very well. The Southern Bypass still experiencing some problems and moving very slowly there. Bagadi Way also, you're going to get stuck here and there, but as you get out to the city, you should be all right, coming off of Valley Road and then also off of Hull Highway slowly as well. Okay, we'll take a look in a short while and see how that looks, but for now, this is where we are at. Spice FMKE Twitter 40127 text.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
9. Thank you very much for sticking with Spice FM this and every morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We always begin the hour with the day's proverb, and C.T. Muga has today's proverb.
Right. Hey, if you are not going to bite, don't show your teeth.
If you're not going to bite,
don't show your teeth.
Don't show your teeth. Make sure that you completely have the full intention to do this.
You see, there are steps that you take that imply that not only is action being taken, but there's an outcome being anticipated.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't go the whole hog, then, as the saying goes, you might as well not have started. Yes.
Start a journey.
Yes, because you may actually even end up causing more harm than good just by simply starting and then not completing it. Yes. For whatever reason. Better off not to start.
Okay. Let's talk business, shall we? The Google expert, Rosemary Momanyo Pio, SME lead for East Africa at Google, is with us again. Good morning, Rosemary.
Good morning, Eric, and how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Morning, Du. Morning, Chichi.
Rosemary, good morning.
How are you all doing today?
We are very well.
Very well, thank you.
We're doing very well. So, yesterday was a tough exam.
Yes, unfortunately. That was not my intent, but clearly we needed to, do more to brush up those skills.
All right. No, we can always brush them up as we go. I mean, that's the whole intention of having an assessment.
I don't think the exam was really that tough. No, the toughness of the exam is always equal to the preparedness of the student.
There you go. There you go.
Hard work plus diligence plus preparation is equals success.
To peace, love, and unity.
Okay. So as we look at today's questions, as you asked today's questions, then you'll ask us the questions for today, the goodies that you want to give away. And then maybe you can even take us back to some of the things that we've learned so far with regards to yesterday's questions, which is about a marketing kit and how to access the marketing kit.
Exactly.
So we want to start with the question so that people can be preparing to answer them?
Exactly, yes. So question number 1, what is Market Finder? And it's not a trick question.
What
question
is
number
Market
2?
Finder? What kind of answer are you looking for?
What is
a sentence?
Just to a sentence, just to explain what it is. Just what is it? Yeah, a simple sentence that explains what it is.
Okay.
And then question number 2, how do I access it?
How do I access the Market Finder?
Market Finder, exactly.
Okay. 0719-012-600. You can call and answer these questions. What is Market Finder? That's question number 1. And question number 2 is, how do you access Market Finder? 0719-012-600. Also, Amlioto has posted them on Facebook and Twitter. You can respond to that, and then we'll be sampling some of your answers. You stand a chance to win some beautiful Google hamper. What's in this hamper?
Multiple things, exciting things, but the one I want to highlight is 1 month of Google Ads paid for by Google for your business, up to $100 or roughly 11,000 Kenya shillings.
1 month, 11,000 shillings advertising.
Yes.
Okay.
Paid for by Google.
Okay.
Yes, for your business.
So let's recap yesterday. Hey.
Yesterday, it was very... What is Marketing Kit?
Yeah.
And Marketing Kit basically is a tool that helps any business create marketing assets. And these assets could be anything from flyers or posters or things that they can then be able to send out and share on social media to try and drive engagement or create dialogue around their products. And they can also print these flyers and posters and post them in their physical store. So Marketing Kit, as it is, it's just a simple kit that helps you create for yourself marketing assets. And these assets could be flyers, could be posters, stickers that you can then be able to engage on social media or print and physically post on your presence, on your physical presence. How to access Marketing Kit is simple. Just to go to the Grow 2.0 hub and then click on the piece in how to help individual or businesses, and then you select the first link is Marketing Kit. And a prerequisite to using it, which is very interesting, is that you need to have a business profile, because that's what it will then use to help create for you your marketing collateral, your marketing assets. So you need a business profile first, and then you can use the Marketing Kit. And then how do you get a business profile? Very simple. You go to google.africa118.co.ke, either request a call back by filling in the form or phone the number that's on that website and be able to talk to an agent who will walk you through how to create your business profile. Within 24 hours, it will be live, and you'll have your presence online. And you can link your website to it for even more visibility.
And then how does this business profile look like? For somebody who's listening to this conversation for the first time, and they basically just are not getting, I have my business, I run my business. The way I know how to run my business is I create a website, or I create a page on social media and I post on social media. What is this business profile?
Yes. So business profile is just another tool to help give more visibility to any business by helping them show up on Google Search and Google Maps with a higher ranking. So it's basically a very simple, I could call it like a one-pager snapshot that tells any customer looking for you, what is your name, where are you located if you have a physical presence, how can I reach you, and if you have a physical presence, how then can I find you on Google Maps? If I have a physical store and I have opening hours, I'm able to quickly put in my opening hours. I'm open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if I wanted to call in advance to book an appointment, I can even include a link there to book an appointment. So it's just a very simple platform that helps highlight visibility or give visibility to any business owner. And if you have a website or social media, which is fantastic, you can link that website or web Facebook page to the business profile directly. What's important about this business profile, you're able to get customers to give you reviews. And the more reviews you get, the higher your ranking shows up. If you're able to drive engagement by putting out posts, it gives you even more impact. And the beautiful thing about it is that you're able to then get some insights about where your customers are coming from. Who are they? When do they call you? What's their profile? Therefore, you're able then to better understand how you're able to target your product to address the users who are currently looking for you. And you'll now know where to find them and who they are. So it gives you some very powerful insights that you can then use to inform your business strategy.
So as you're speaking, I thought, okay, what if somebody was thinking about this and they wanted to find out how it looks like? And I just thought, okay, one product, which just came to mind, wedding dress. Okay, so
Yes.
I just went to Google, I typed wedding dress and clicked search, and then what I'm seeing here is top of the page. It brings me bridal shops near you, and then there's a map, and it has several pins which have several shops written there. There's Bliss Bridal Shop, Kenya, Abigail Bridal Boutique, Top Bride Collections. And I think that this one is showing those that are near where I am now at the Standard Group Center on Mombasa Road. So when I look at them, I can see, so for example, Bliss Bridal Shop in Kenya, there's a 4.1 star rating. It's showing me it's 6.2 kilometers from where I am. It's a wedding store. Open. It's open currently, closes at 6 p.m. And so that is the kind of thing that you're saying now I would get if I created the business profile.
That is exactly a business profile. Correct.
Okay.
That's
And
it.
for having this, then I also appear up there top of the Google search.
Correct.
I see.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it's free.
And it's free to get there. It's free to stay online.
It's free to stay online, exactly. But you see how powerful it is? It showed somebody who is close to you. It showed you their reviews. It showed you their physical address. And it showed you what time they're open and that they're open right now and what time they close. So that you can then call them before 6 p.m. Afterwards, they won't be open. So you're able then to say, okay, you know what, I'll call them tomorrow. Or let me call them before 6 p.m. But you're then able to make an informed choice on how to and when to call the business owner. But you know right away where they're located, their hours, their phone number, physical location, and their reviews.
Okay.
That is
So
a business profile.
back to the questions, today's questions, looking for answers and winners. What is Market Finder? And question number 2 is, how can I access it? 0719-012-600. Are there people who are attempting to answer this online?
All right. So one answer that we have to that so far. So Dave Ogola has said, number 1, he's answering the first question. Market Finder is a free Google service for businesses interested in expanding abroad. It provides detailed insights into which markets are best suited to your product or service, plus useful guides on how to expand into a new market.
Okay. Before you say whether this is correct or wrong, let's sample some. Senor. So this is who?
Dave Ogola.
Mwalimu, that is Dave Ogola.
Okay.
You give them marks and then you'll announce that at parade.
I will do that.
When this works. Okay. So we don't have another answer. Okay, well, sorry. Okay. So Gerald Chariot says, Market Finder is a free platform provided by Google, which helps you expand your business into international markets. That's Gerald Chariot.
Okay.
Anybody else?
So that I can.
Okay. What is Market Finder?
Market Finder.
Yeah.
Market Finder, let me say, it's an ad, or I say it's an platform which shows the business contact and as you say, example, Market Finder is like the ability of Google to show you the market details and the market profile.
Whose market? Whose market profile?
For our business profile. Yes.
Okay, Mwalimu.
So, Brian, just explain that to me again. I'm not understanding the answer.
Yes, I'm saying that Market Finder is the ability of Google to give you the business profile, to give you the details and the business profile of our business, which has been linked into Google Africa ads. Yes,
Brian. No. You've said very many words and big words, Brian.
So I just use like a statement or.
Okay. How would you find? Let's attempt question number 2. How do I access
Yes.
Market Finder?
You access Market Finder through Google search. Yes, Mwalimu.
Brian, thanks for putting up your hand again today.
Brilliant.
Is there an effort? Is there effort opportunity?
I asked this question.
No, Mwalimu, I've tried because I just said that you said a statement.
Definitely. It's like a goal that just hits the post but didn't score. It usually doesn't count. That's the unfortunate thing. But it was really close.
Amewachenga bana. Amewachenga.
Yes.
Amechenga.
No, the statement was too long. Or
no,
it was not correct.
It was not
the
correct.
right answer, Brian.
Okay.
Keep trying. 0719012600. Any attempt for question number 2 online?
Okay, so let's see if there are some attempts for question number 2 and not quite yet. It looks like question number 2 was question number 1 rather was an easy one coming from you. Okay, so we have answers for question number 1. So now we need to give it out for question number 2 and see what people can come up with. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
So Dave Ogola said it's what?
Dave Ogola said it's a free Google service for businesses interested in expanding abroad. Gerald Chariot says Market Finder is a free platform provided by Google, which helps you expand your business into international markets. James Williams says it's a free Google service for businesses interested in expanding online and abroad. And Jyoti Bridge says Market Finder is a free platform provided by Google, which helps you expand businesses into the international market.
Which of those is correct?
All 4 are correct.
All 4 are correct.
All 4
Congratulations to the forum. Okay, so those are 4. How many?
Those are 4.
We have yesterday's 3 plus today's 2. Okay. So you want to vote those Mwalimu?
Yes, plus I'll also throw into their hamper the complimentary 1 month of Google Ads advertising worth $100 or 11,000 Kenya shillings. So they all get that as well.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Yay.
Well done. Well
Finally.
done to you guys.
Well done, David, Gerald, James, and Gerald.
We need someone to actually attempt question number 2. How do I access this? Dave, if you can answer this, then you'll get the answer. I mean, you'll get something extra, maybe. How do you access this Market Finder? So it's a free tool that's provided by Google that helps you to expand your business into other international markets. But how do I access it? That's the question. Anybody who'd like to answer that, 0719012600 or SpiceFMKE on Twitter and Facebook as we speak of that. So, Mwalimu, those 4 hampers already go to Gerald, Dave, James, and
Jyoti.
Yeah, Jyoti.
Jyoti. Okay. Congratulations to them. Just tell us then the answer to question number 2.
The answer is, shall I give the answer now? Okay. How to access Market Finder? Again, it's very simple. g.co/Grow Africa. And you go to the Google Hub and you just click on the tab for businesses and it's a second link, Market Finder.
So it's that simple, as in g.co/.
/Grow Africa.
And that's it.
Click on the tab for business. Second link.
All right.
Market Finder.
Tomorrow you have some more questions, just looking back at what we've learned.
Can I ask a question?
Ask.
How different will the information you get be different from if you simply just Google search Market Finder?
So you might not be able to find it showing up high because it's a brand new tool. So we haven't built enough SEO for it to rise up. But you might be able to sort through the results and then look for the Grow 2.0 Hub and click on it, or the link to sync with Google Market Finder. But it'll be at the bottom of the results.
Okay.
Since it's a brand new tool. But you can't find it. It'll just require sorting through multiple pages.
You know, the product that Google has, I don't think you can get more real time than it. So even if it's new, I'm sure what I'm getting at is, won't Google search give it to you? Because if it's new and you're Google, the product should be there.
We apply the same rules to our products.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Rosemary, for speaking to us today.
My
and
pleasure.
Asante for the revision and getting to understand a bit more about Market Finder, about the business profile, about the marketing kit, and how then we can get there. How do just for those who may not have heard it before, if I wanted this free service to create my own profile and Google is offering it for free, how do I get that?
You just go to google.africa118.co.ke and you'll get to a page. You have the option to either make a phone call to the number that you see there or fill in a form to request a call back. And you'll get a call back within 24 hours.
So within 24 hours, they call back. And how long does it take to get the profile up?
You'll be verified instantly, and it could take about another day for it to show up on the search and Google search and Google Maps.
Okay. So everybody take advantage of that. Thank you very much, Rosemary. Speak to you again tomorrow.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
Thanks,
You too.
Rosemary.
21 minutes after 9. Time for us to take a break and look at the weather, where we continue our conversations. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
In the face of COVID-19, life has been adversely affected, with nearly all schools in Kenya lacking basic hand-washing facilities, affecting more than 19 million children. Together with Davis and Shatliff and True Black, we, the Standard Group, have partnered to collectively unite other corporates and individuals to join the initiative towards setting up basic sanitation facilities around the country. For more information, send an SMS to the short code 40616 or email standwithkenya@standardmedia.co.ke. Time to come together for tomorrow. It's our future. A partnership by Davis and Shatliff and True Black and the Standard Group.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, Spice FMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique, the official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be.
Okay, so sunny conditions at some parts and then come cloud over later in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 29, rather highs of 27 today. Sunny conditions in Nakuru at 18 degrees, highs of 23 and lows of 16. It's mostly cloudy in Nyeri at 19, highs of 23 and lows of 15. Sunny in Eldoret at 17, going to highs of 22 and lows of 13. It's also sunny in Kisumu at 21, highs of 28 and lows of 20. Kakamega is sunny at 21 at the moment, highs of 28 and lows of 15. We're also looking at a light rain in Mombasa at the moment at 28, going to highs of 30 and then down to lows of 25. Malindi is sunny at 21, highs of 28 and lows of 16. Mostly sunny conditions in Kampala at 20, going to highs of 25 and lows of 17. Dar es Salaam experiencing some light rain this morning, highs of 30 and lows of 25. It's raining in Johannesburg still, temperatures rising though at 21, highs of 23 and lows of 26 today. The rain continues in Lagos at 25, highs of 31. And in Kinshasa, it's also raining at 24, highs of 30. Looking into Beijing, going into early afternoon, early evening right now, 5 degrees, and it's going to go to a high of 6 only, and a low of -3. Clear skies, coming close to freezing in Paris at 2. To go up to highs of 11, come back down to lows of 2. Clear skies in London at 7, highs of 9 and lows of 5. And finally for now, in New York, come Thursday morning, it's 13 degrees, highs of 16 and lows of 11.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. We've had a number of conversations this morning. First of all, talking about the BBI, the drive that was launched yesterday by the president and the former prime minister, and now they're going around the country looking for signatures. We asked people to tell us whether they would actually participate in this signature drive. There are those that have said yes, and those that are saying yes are saying, look, one thing that is more important than even anything else is peace. When there's peace and stability in the country, then you're able to move from one corner of the country to the other. One person was saying, now I'm able to go anywhere in the country without wondering, without really fearing for my second name, and my second name will not grant me access to some parts of the country. Somebody else also said, look, there's peace. I'm able to work. I'm able to, do everything that I want to do. And then there are those that are saying, no, this is misplaced priority. Right now, this is not the priority. Looking at what is contained in this BBI report, the amendment to the Constitution is not going to affect me directly in terms of give me something directly that I address my current needs. It's going to address the needs of people by creating political positions, by creating positions, but none of them is urgent. None of them should, be forming the conversations at this point. This is, it's not going to be easy. It's the conversations that will happen around the country on that front, where there's clear division on people feeling that, no, this is not what we want to be discussing now. And there are those that feel that, yes, just because you're enjoying peace doesn't mean that we should ignore the fact that it took something for us to enjoy this peace that we're enjoying now. And we need to safeguard it and ring fence it.
And then many would ask, is it an actual peace, or is it one that has been manufactured? Or is it peace for the sake of saying there is? So that you get away from that ugly situation that we saw. Really horrible things that had happened at that time. So was it peace because somebody says, okay, guys, we need to really calm down? But do we need to look at the fact that there's still inherent issues that people have a problem with?
Have we been here before? Have we asked ourselves whether this is the silver bullet? In 2010, when we were discussing the enactment of the referendum for the current constitution, that was among the issues. It was look back 2 years ago where we were on the precipice of war. And this document then now gives us a supreme law that will create structures of governance, will devolve power, will make people more accountable to their citizens, will give citizens avenues to participate in how they are governed, in the decisions that are made at their local level. So this will guarantee us peace. We will no longer be focusing on the top level at presidency, because we have 47 executives around the country who determine what exactly is happening at your local level. That was 10 years ago. Barely 3 years after that, 2013, we had tension because of an election. And this was the first election under the new constitution. This was the first election that was going to usher in a fully new system of government, and then transitions us into implementing this constitution. 4 years later, 2017, another election, more tension. And we had a handshake in March 2018. And as a result of that handshake, we now had this BBI process. Let's build bridges for a better, brighter future, more prosperous, unified nation. Report comes out, and the whole same conversation again. What is contained here now is going to address what we missed 10 years ago. It's going to ensure that the kind of tensions that we have around elections is going to be addressed.
Is it? You know what would have been an interesting way to look at this is that if there were tensions in certain parts of the country, if there were tensions in the hearts and minds of certain people, I think it would have been great to take those tensions as a sieve for this and say, put it through those tensions and say, okay, now that I've been able to look at this, would I then be able to say, then this I know is what is going to solve my problem? For those pockets of people who say, the problem that I had is that I saw it was not possible for me or my kin, for example, to enjoy the land of our forefathers because of certain things. I saw that I was marginalized, or I saw that I was not getting access to opportunities in the country by virtue of the fact that where I'm from. Then I look at this document and I say, okay, this is the one that is actually going to solve my problem. I put it through all the things that I think I have suffered as, whether they be injustices or whether I see there will be non-inclusivity and things like that. If this document comes through those tensions, if these documents come through those issues, and I see that as a result of what has been proposed, then I no longer see that I will suffer from these issues, then by all means.
You know, I would actually take perhaps a more vibrant view anything that a politician takes, I would first of all treat it as fake news until I'm able to verify it, until I'm able to determine the source of that information, and I will also look at the track record of that politician and their track record of delivery. Then I will be in a position to perhaps say, okay, this seems to make sense. Because the tool that politicians use, and use very effectively, is words.
And this is the danger, and this is where I really am at the point where I always want to beg and implore and say, really look at this for what it really, really is, or what could be the underbelly of this thing. Look, if it was not being politicized, if it was not being made so political, then I would say perhaps there are answers that Kenyans are actually looking for. The things upon which Kenyans lost their lives, the things upon which Kenyans were ready to go to fight, to conflict over, are they really being sorted out? If they are, by all means, let it go through. But I must say, don't look at this and go with it just because your leader of choice is at the helm of it. Don't refuse it also because your leader of choice is opposing it. But look at it and say, is it the thing that is going to solve the problem? Because to say that, is there a problem? I don't think that's the issue. I think it has already been established that all over here, there are things that need to be sorted out. That, for want of problems, that's not what we are arguing here. But to really look at it and interrogate it and say, is it the one that's going to solve the issues? Or perhaps do you already have something sitting that could solve the problem? But the real issue is, like you're saying, we've been talking at this thing and actually not been implementing things that should have been implemented. Is that perhaps the real problem? Are we not working on economic solutions, social development issues? Are we not working on those, not being worked on, not being sorted out? But then it would seem that a political process has been brought into place to try and placate people and say, okay, yeah, we can sort it out on the surface.
Do you think our problems were created by our politics?
I think some of them were. Maybe not.
Most of them were.
Yeah, for sure. And we even have some that would have been exacerbated by the
politics. Or our politicians.
You see, when I say our politics, it's our politics that creates the politicians that we have. That's our politics. These people we see, the ones we vote in, they're a product of that. So, when we look at decisions that were made to formulate, first of all, shake hands, formulate the BBI, politicians were behind it. Now, when politicians are behind something, what do you really expect? You expect something that will work, won't you?
Yep.
But you really think it's not going to be politicized? They will politicize it.
So this is what's happening.
They will definitely politicize it.
Let's take a break and look at traffic at 27 minutes to 10. When we come back, start looking at it. For example, I'm going to read a couple of, some of the clauses that are being amended from the Memorandum of Objects and Reasons of this constitutional amendment bill that has now been published. That's a subject of which we are now going to have this drive to get signatures for a popular initiative to amend the Constitution. Okay. It is 26 minutes to 10 o'clock. Keep it right here. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. They are smart, they are funny, and unfailingly entertaining. They are the adults in the room, and they are here to help you be the best adult you can be.
Just to be very honest with each other here, not all of us are going to get tall, dark, and handsome. Not all of us are going to get 0.5s or chotaras. Some of us have to learn the short guys. Some of us have to learn those pot-bellied people. Some of us have to learn older men or younger men.
Spice.
Don't ask your partner if he or she enjoyed it. I think the approach should always be, if she's enjoyed the journey, she will let you know.
Yeah.
She'll tell you, hey, maze, your bus is big. Mi sijaipanda basi kubwa kama hii. Juu hata hii basi, hiyo mafuta tulieka yote, imetuleta hapa vizuri. Hii basi iko na nguvu. Hii basi iko na nguvu.
Spice.
Now into a relationship, it becomes like you've stopped your life, and then now me, I am your life. You see, like, what happened to your life? What happened to you? What did you used to do?
And women are guilty about that.
Is your wife listening to the show?
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not. The adults in the room will help you stay winning.
Okay, so it's looking a little bit better along most of the streets. So we're going to take a look outside of the city. We're looking at Mombasa today, and traffic is not so bad. It's been looking pretty good over the last couple of days. Nobody's really complaining about that going on. In and out of town, not an issue per se. Let's look going west into Nakuru. We're coming into town, a little bit of a hold up just at the mouth of the town, but then outbound is looking good, as well as is Kisumu. Nairobi seems to be bearing the brunt of traffic problems recently. So we have some pockets, guys, hotspots. Bagathi Way, part of industrial area. Mombasa Road, definitely. The Southern Bypass today, that's where we saw some problems. These should be slowing down now. Not too much in terms of, rather, slowing down means now traffic picking up, right? So it doesn't look too bad in those areas right now. So keep an eye out, though. You shouldn't use the service lane still on Thika Road. Stick to the highway. Be able to get where you're going without too much of an issue. Have a look at what it looks like during the rest of the day. You get stuck somewhere, let us know. We can spread the word or at least give you a solution, okay? Spice FM KE on Twitter, or text through the day 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Of the bill to amend the Constitution of Kenya seeks to address issues arising from its implementation, especially the need to resolve issues of divisive elections and promote gender equity in governance. That's number one. Strengthen the structure of devolution and increase resource allocation to the counties. That's number two. Broaden mechanisms for all people of Kenya to benefit from economic growth. Harmonize certain roles and functions of the bicameral legislature. Fortify national ethos by specifying the responsibilities of citizens and strengthen accountability on public resources and the fight against corruption. Okay? So this is what, broadly, this constitution amendment seeks to do. So, let's start with which parts are being, amended. Chapter 2 of the Constitution on the formative aspects of the Republic to address regional integration, cohesion, shared prosperity, and the centrality of the economy. The aspiration is to enhance Kenya's standing and leadership in the region. And then we amend Chapter 3 on citizenship to introduce a new article on the responsibilities of a citizen to enhance patriotism and set out the duties of a citizen to the country and to fellow citizens. So this particular time now we are saying that we are going to amend and insert a new Article 18A, which will talk about the responsibilities of a citizen. What are your responsibilities as a citizen to ensure that now you live responsibly?
So this already is not in the Constitution.
No, we're introducing it now.
It's being introduced.
We're introducing it now. We also amend Chapter 4 of the Constitution on the Bill of Rights to provide a constitutional underpinning for privacy of personal data of citizens as an emerging area in human rights owing to technological advancement. So this one is basically saying it's amending 31 to incorporate the right for the protection of personal data. Then amend Chapter 6, Leadership and Integrity, to strengthen the fight against corruption by providing a mechanism for expeditious conduct of investigations, prosecutions, and trials. Now, this one, if we amend this Article 80, it will require Parliament to enact a law establishing mechanisms to facilitate the expeditious investigation, prosecution. Okay? So this one just basically tells Parliament should come up with a law that ensures that there is speedy and, faster prosecution and investigation into corruption matters. Parliament can say that you shall investigate within 2 years, or you may investigate within 2 years.
It is them to say.
It is them to decide. Representation of the people. Here we are seeking to enhance equity by looking at the legislation, the electoral disputes, IEBC, formation of IEBC, how the electoral units shall be increase the number of constituencies from the current 290 constituencies to now have 360 constituencies. 360 minus 290 is 70. So we're now going to have 70 extra constituencies in the country.
Jeez,
and then we also now have a way in which we say that there shall be party lists and ensuring that political parties are aware of. So all these things, the role of the Senate, enhancing the oversight role of the Senate on matters relating to all county revenues and their expenditures, The existing provision only mandates the Senate with oversight role on the national revenue allocated to the county government and does not expressly extend such mandate to counties' own source of revenue. So right now, the way we're talking about parking and the kind of parking fees and market levies that are charged by the county's own source revenue, that the Senate does not have a mandate to oversight that.
Now
we're adding it.
It's funny you should mention it because one of the things that the article pointed out that the collections had been dipping over time. Like 2015, 2016, the target had been 5 billion. They only raised 2.4 billion. And then there was an even higher target the following year, something like 64 billion. They only raised something like 2.9 billion. Then the year after that, they decided to lower the target.
Yes, no.
So.
Lower the target. I mean, that works.
Yes.
The other target
You've been
was
struggling all
unrealistic.
this time. It's unrealistic. So let's do something that you can do.
Oh, no. Those targets may not necessarily be realistic. That is a Kenyan solution to a problem. If you
can't reach the standard, lower the bar.
No, you can reach the standard. But if we keep announcing and telling people this is the standard, we are raising questions for ourselves.
Yeah.
So lower it.
So you announce success.
We
surpassed our target by 20%.
Yes. And then no one will question the other targets you'd set earlier to ask, and now these targets, okay, how did you arrive at them and how are you arriving at this one now? Yeah, because the target that was then set after that is closer to what you actually collected.
Yeah.
Now, why do I bring this in? It's the same thing with the BBI. Okay. Amend the constitution by all means if you think it is necessary or seek to amend it. The problem with that the BBI is trying to resolve is not all these things. This is just a dressing. The perception in the minds of many politicians has been, with our presidential elections, the cake is between the president and the deputy. I'm putting it as simply as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And so now, let's divide this thing so that other people can get this. And while we're at it, we'll give the impression that other people from other communities can also get to share in this big cake that big people eat up there. And this is what they're saying will help reduce the tensions that bring about the problems that we have with our elections. Not that, remember, our elections really are never a problem. On voting day, it's a peaceful day. It's a pleasant day. People chat, they vote. Our problems arise after, when the counting starts, lights go off, the system hangs, servers take a trip to some foreign country in Europe. That's when our problems begin. Before that, we elect our leaders in the most peaceful way. And if you look at even the numbers of issues that are taken by people who lose elections to the courts, they are not many. If you look at the number of people, they're not many. So people generally accept the results of that happen. The problem is not all these things that we're talking about. The problem is with the presidency. That's where we have issues.
And what is that problem in the presidency?
I've just said it.
Is it because the personalities that are, battling it out for the presidency have this kind of following, and then they also prime their followers to feel that if I don't win, then it has been robbed?
Yeah, it has been stolen.
Is it a stop the count kind of thing that we have?
It appears so. And up until the Kriegler report came out, it had been anecdotal. It's what people say, that this is what happens in the election. The Kriegler report laid it bare. And it gave credence to this thing that people complain about, that this is what happened. But the Kriegler report also said it happens on both sides.
On all sides?
Actually, yes. Both and all are not the same, yes. It happens on all both sides.
Okay.
Yes. So the debate here is about power sharing, not about whether hospitals work, whether these things work. But I understand the thinking. I understand that. This I said earlier on, that if you have something that brings about peace at the top, then these other things are then possible in an easier way. I think, and my thinking takes me back to the coalition government, when you didn't have people who won an election just sharing it, people who won the election and people who had been in the opposition sharing government. So the opposition was actually in government. I think, in my mind, that the check and balance was at a very, very high level at that point in time.
There was collusion. It was not check and balance. That's the other argument that can be
it can
raised.
It can be, but
that it was not necessarily check and balance. It's because all of you are now at the table, And if you see that guy taking, and he has also looked at you as you took, so you keep quiet.
That is true, but then how then do you justify and explain the strides that were made by that particular government in that period before the coalition government and during the coalition government? How do you explain? Because they did many things that had hitherto not been done.
Even the government prior to that had also done a lot of
No,
things.
all governments do something, and like this particular government, the thing that they must be applauded for is continuing with projects that were begun in the previous government and seeing some of them even to a conclusion. It's a good thing. Those are things that must be applauded, they must be lauded for. We don't take that away from them. What we take away, for instance, is the costs, what these things have cost us. What we take away from them is the cost of these things costing us and what else has suffered as a result of it.
Yep.
That's where the beef is.
Yep. And you see what we have now basically is only that we don't have a constitutional amendment to create a position, only that we don't have an internationally observed peace and reconciliation accord. We only have a handshake, and then we have a cooperation government. In the cooperation government, you can still ask, all right, so what is it that is happening in this particular term of this government that you'd say, where's the voice of the opposition? I mean, those are questions that keep arising. Where's the voice of the opposition? Are there things that are happening now that are good? Yes. Are there things that are happening now that raise very many questions? Yes. Are we talking about why is it that counties are unable, and the chair of the Council of Governors can say, we've been overwhelmed. We are overwhelmed by this COVID thing.
Eric, the opposition will always rear its head. Even when protagonists seem to share a vision and seem to be working together, they may do that. Other people who have an alternate opinion will now rise up.
Yep.
And it's something that you can, as they say, this one you can't take to the bank. This one you can just take it for a walk. You are guaranteed that there are people who will feel, no, our interests are not being served here. And this is where our interests ought to be served.
And they'll be on the outside.
Or they'll be on the outside.
So the issue here then is,
yes,
by bringing in the two largest parties, the one that has won and the one that has been the biggest loser, and bringing them together does not necessarily guarantee that you're going to have a better government.
No. The optics of it are that, no, better government is a different story.
No. It's just that so that you can maintain a relative atmosphere of peace.
Yes.
Because why you brought them together in the first place is not so that, let's all come together and work for the betterment of a country. No. You brought them together in the first place because you saw that, there was some appeasement that needed to happen on the side of the individual who lost.
Things were getting worse.
Things were getting thick.
Yes.
And in order to maintain some kind of peace, you said, let's then do this together. So it would seem as if power is being shared. It's not that they came together to say, let's work together because two heads are better than one. No. It's just so that peace would have been maintained.
So you've created some relative peace, but then is that to the benefit of the people in terms of the government working better?
Yes.
The question that I was asking is, what's the role of the opposition? So if the opposition, which is the largest, the biggest loser, comes in and starts cooperating with the government and therefore feels that, this is my buddy, I really can't stand up there and scream one day, I feel that they've gone wrong, I'll support them. Are you getting the services that you deserve?
Actually, politicians...
But now here you've been given now this thing, I've been told, there's peace, so shut up. There's peace, so shut up. Was it not possible for us to get peace if you, the opposition, just said, all right, so we are going to the opposition and we shall ensure that we keep this government and hold it to account? Do your work?
Eric, this peace is for a purpose, as I see it. When that purpose is achieved, I will go back to factory settings, rest assured.
That's why I asked that initial question when we started this conversation. That this peace that we're talking about, was it true peace or one that was manufactured in order to be able to get the ball rolling? And then as we go down, we'll figure out something as we go along.
I actually take it even before that, before even the peace. Was the tension that was there actual tension or was it manufactured tension?
But tension is usually manufactured. Now the question is it real? It is real after it's been manufactured. This one was real, all right. This one was definitely real. I mean, forget just the conversations we're having in the country. Everything that was being done was not pleasant. The conversations, the feeling, it had, these weren't war drums being beaten. No. These were war drums being beaten everywhere. It was not good. Those things, historically we've seen, they start that way, but where they take us is a place nobody really wants to go to.
So why don't you talk about now how to ensure that you do not beat the war drums? Don't be the one. It doesn't mean that I include you, then you tell your people, okay, I've got
Okay,
enough
calm
here.
down.
Because those people who are having tension, not just the top, but everybody else at the lower levels who are having tension, did they get into government? Did they shake hands?
Has their situation been made necessarily better as a result of what the two of you agreed? Not necessarily.
Focus on the effects of representation. Huh? Take it even at a family level. When a member of that family, if the child does well in school, the whole family feels good about it. All right? If a runner from Kenya beats all other runners, the world comes number one, we all feel good about it.
Yep.
Take that to the political arena. When one of your own, my clansman, say for instance, is MP for our area, I may not even know the person, but I feel, my clan is represented. We tend to have this associative way of dealing with things. And in this country, if you're talking about top leadership, people will take pride in someone's academic excellence and achievements, but people also take great pride in one of their own being at the top. That they do.
That's true.
So
that is very true. Just the same way, if you take pride in the person being number one, you also accept when the person becomes number three. All right? Eliud Kipchoge did not win the London Marathon this year. We felt bad about it, and we saw what happened, and are we still in tension? Are we having tension?
But we have won it. He has won it before.
Yeah.
And he even set some record. What was that record again? He broke the
sub two.
Let's hear from Jimmy, who's calling from Malindi. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, too. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'll just go to the point. We don't need as Kenya, the BBI, to put all the things that they are saying they are going to bring forward, which are carried by the BBI. Why? We have this constitution that was promulgated in 2010.
Yeah.
You look at the role of parliament in number 94. It says the legislative authority of the republic is derived from the people, and at the national level is vested in and exercised by parliament. Number 2, parliament manifests the diversity of the nation, represents the will of the people, and exercise their sovereignty. You see? So, this number 3, parliament may consider and pass amendments to this constitution and alter county boundaries as provided from this constitution. Number 4, parliament shall protect this constitution and promote the democratic governance of the republic. Number 5 says, the last one, no person or body other than parliament has the power to make provision having the force of law in Kenya, except an authority confirmed by this constitution or by the legislation. What am I trying to say? The parliament of Kenya has failed Kenyans. And there is nobody in Kenya, this is my opinion, there is nobody, I can never respect or hear anything that comes from the parliament and respect it. Because why? You want to tell me that parliament would not declare that it is the right of the people for 40%, even 50% to go to the people in every county?
They could.
You want to tell me that parliament cannot put a law, say that if you are caught in any political violence, your charge is treason or your charge is murder?
They could.
You're supposed to be charged with murder. If the president himself, he declared, if you are found vandalizing the SGR, hukumu yako ni kinyongo. You want to tell me that the president would not say that if ukipatikana ukileta vita baada ya uchaguzi, hukumu yako ni kinyongo? We had Moi, and Kibaki was defeated by Moi. Matiba alishindwa na Moi. Did you see any political violence? Why is it that the political violence is coming now? So this is not it's not something that came from the past.
Actually, historically, we had issues. They may not have been called political violence, or it wasn't called political violence. They call it tribal clashes. But they had this strange habit of appearing every time we had an election. So we have had disturbances of that nature. 2007, 2008 escalated it, but we have had problems of that nature. Not just talk. We've actually had people dying, and it's around the time when our political temperatures were at their highest.
Thank you so much. Those were tribal clashes.
I'm trying to tell you that they are not tribal clashes.
Were they post-election, CT?
I'm trying to say that.
They were not post-election.
I'm trying to say that.
Yes.
They were tribal clashes, but they were not post-election violence. This time, we are not talking about tribal clashes in Rift Valley. We are talking about political violence in the whole of Kenya. Cost every part of Kenya. There was people dying. You see?
And we get your points, Jimmy. We get your
Thank
points.
you so much.
Asante sana. I had Victoria on the line. I think Victoria can call back 0719-012-600. Join the conversation and express your opinion on that.
Well, I think there was definitely, it would be, I think, almost myopic for us to say that, like what we're talking about now with post-election violence, to say that that occurred or that came about as a result of the election in 2007. It was clear that there were simmering issues way before that. And also would be difficult for us to say that even now as we speak, that those people who are in those areas where these tensions often would arise have gotten over their issues or now see this as an avenue through which those issues will be resolved. I think it would be very difficult for us to speak like that. And if we did also, then it would be premature thinking. To think that a document like this and the way it is now is going to be able to sort, or an initiative will sort wholeheartedly those issues. If that is the premise for having an initiative like this, it would be difficult to say that this is an all-encompassing solution to that problem. They existed for a long time, and I think that there are certain things that need to then be done to sort out those issues. Now, I also realize that there are people who are accepting this as full, whole meal as it is, and there are those who are rejecting it whole meal. I think there are certain things in it that have merit, and I think that there are certain things that are also there for political expediency for just a few people. That's clear in the minds of many people. And that's why I say it must be interrogated and say, are there things that are necessary to have? Absolutely. Are there things that maybe not so necessary that could be expensive on the long run for the country? And I think it needs to be looked at holistically. It needs to be looked at honestly. It needs to be looked at honestly.
If you are to balance
and if there are people who see themselves benefiting as individuals from this process, I think Kenyans need to look at that and not be afraid to speak out at it.
If you are to balance this document, would you say what it proposes is likely to bring more good, or is it likely to bring more harm? In your view,
more good?
Yeah, I'm being simplistic.
I think there's some good that it would bring.
More harm than good.
I also think think that in some cases it would exacerbate a problem which you're trying to solve. If you look at it and say some of the things that you're trying to solve by saying, for example, have a situation whereby you have a few people representative of many at the top, there's still people who would continually take issue with it. So the very problem that you're trying to solve could come about and be worsened through this same process.
I think what we're trying to do is to accommodate the bad manners of our politicians.
As opposed to calling it out and saying, nip this thing in the bud, stop it.
Accommodating the bad manners. The bad manners, so because somebody is a member of parliament and they feel they'd like a flag, so push it in and say, we're going to have assistant ministers and ministers coming from parliament, and let's also take it down to the county level, so that CECs are also going to come from the county assembly. So you're going to have MCAs being appointed into CECs. And we say, now, that is going to help us. That's bad manners of the political class.
They're saying it's going to help us, maybe the issue here, but we've had this sort of system before. It's not as though we're trying something new. You see, the big picture that I'm looking at...
True, we have had the system before, and even we have now this current system.
We do.
Okay?
We do.
Now, the reasons being given to advance the return to the old system are the ones that I'm saying. They are not, to me, there's no proper justification for it.
If you talk about the reasoning, then you and I are in full agreement. You see, my larger picture perspective is a simple one. Huh? I am glad that I am in a country where my leaders are flawed and that they make mistakes. Some so obvious, you actually wonder why they are awake when they make these mistakes. But I'm also glad that I'm in a country where people resolve their problems by talking about them, by shaking hands and by agreeing. Because the alternative is too bizarre to even imagine.
True. That's very true. Thank you for tuning in today. Join us again tomorrow. It's Friday, 27th. We'll be here at 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. CT Muga Nduoko, Eric Latif saying goodbye. For more and more conversations, tune in tomorrow.
Spice up your life